First stage propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle's flying down to nominal.
Stage separation confirmed.
And MVAC ignition.
Stage separation confirmed.
On countdown 1, we're going to start our
Boas!
go poll for today's flight. Raptor 1,
Go.
É que é Pantanal.
Go.
stage 1, go.
Tudo em altas?
Good morning.
Boas
On your
tardes.
screen of Starship as it awaits our
bom
first
dia.
ever integrated flight test from Starbase Texas.
Flight directors, go for flight.
Hoje vamos ter aqui
10,
uma live
9,
que eu
8, 7,
gosto de fazer
6,
para ter companhia para ver isto.
ignition, 2,
É o terceiro teste. Estamos agora. Está a dar agora no YouTube o primeiro teste que foi feito com este fogão. Que não correu assim tão bem.
1. We have liftoff.
Starship vehicle, tower clear, we're in the pitch over. Onboard view from Starship. What a sight, we're flying at twice the thrust of the Saturn V heading to space.
Todos os motores ali estavam todos floridos. Acho que rebentaram os 6. Mas mesmo assim levantou. Olha ali, este a rebentar todo, aqueles todos desligados.
And there, as you saw, as we promised, an exciting end to the Starship inaugural integrated test flight.
Primeiro teste. Boom. Segundo teste, double boom. Second flight test.
Attention all operators on countdown 1. This is the final go, no go for flight 2 of Starship. Again, our T0 is at 7 a.m. Central. Raptor 1.
Go.
Raptor 2.
Go.
Stage 1.
Go.
Stage 2.
Go.
Copy, go for flight.
Go, go,
Clock is
go.
rolling. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Segundo teste. Motores todos ok. Nenhum rebentou. Melhorias. Top. Bonito. Todos ligados. Arranque espetacular.
Stretcher cut off.
Chegamos à parte de desligar, sem problema. Separação, hot staging, em que a separação é feita com o arranque do motor da frente. O arranque do motor, do segundo motor, é que empurra a separação, chama-se hot staging. Temos uma separação com sucesso. O booster vira ao contrário e explodiu. Explodiu? Mandaram-nos explodir. Explodiu-se assim que se virou. Por causa do sloshing. O combustível dentro do booster andava todo lá aos saltos dentro e pronto, fodeu-se por causa disso. Eles explodiram com aquela merda. Pronto, e o outro explodiu também mais à frente, mas foi passado bem da tempo. E agora, terceiro teste. Plano. Tem aqui música. Plano. Arrancar, subir, hot staging outra vez, fleet maneuver. Vamos ver se chega a esta fase, boost back bird. Da outra vez não chegou a acontecer. E vão tentar aterrar na água, não em cima da plataforma, literalmente no mar. Esta parte aconteceu da outra vez. Starship Engine Cut-Off aconteceu, mas depois ele rebentou. Não sei se o rebentaram. Coast Phase, Starship Reentry. Ou seja, hoje estamos à espera que estas duas partes aconteçam. Esta a aterrar e este a voltar também para aterrar. Isto era top porque queríamos testar os e-tiles, que é basicamente estas coisas pretas em forma de hexágonos, ver se não fode o foguetão todo a voltar. Ora bem, isto eles mudaram a hora, acho que aumentaram a hora para as 8h02, que é daqui a 1 hora em ponto. E o que é que vamos ter aqui? Isto é os horários do que é que vão fazer. Encher combustível, blá 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 blá. 30 segundos antes vem se está tudo ok. Excitement guaranteed. Onde é que vai ser a cena? Watch vai ser aqui, vai começar ao 12h29. Só que nós já temos aqui gajos a falar disto.
Terminal count, and they've for the last two they've held it at that. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, go!" and everyone's scrambling. There's a chance that if they feel good about the T0 time and everything's go for prop load,
all right. It looks like in the back channel here we have another T0 change. We have gone up now,
which I guess if you're all
to
conditioned and ready to go for it, why not? I mean, it does. You do lose propellant to boil off if it's sitting in the vehicle more than you would in the tank farm.
Temos aqui alguns canais que...
And congratulations to the lucky guys who became members.
Estão
if you decide to become a channel member or a patron, make sure to link your Discord account so that you can get access to our Discord, to our member exclusive Discord. If you become a channel member here on YouTube, you have to go into your Discord app and link your YouTube account. If you become a patron, you have to go onto Patreon, onto patreon.com, into your account settings and link your Discord account in there. Then you will get access to the Y Discord where there's an awesome
mais 8 minutos, 8 e 10.
Can I real quick shout someone out?
Yes.
Ou seja,
Pete McDonald
e 10.
Pete McDonald is here. Woo! Thanks for making it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for the super chat. So nice to read your name here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we're still waiting for SpaceX to do anything more about push out, because there are boats in the exclusion zone right now, which is a shame. It's the stupidest reason for a launch being pushed. But okay, we'll see if those boats will move in time.
And we're going to see a beautiful sunrise together with all of you before the third Starship flight. And this is super awesome. This is even better now because those moments are just beautiful and combined with this technological masterpiece.
We have to follow. Hi, how are you? What's up, bro? I'm good. How about you? We have to follow. Sad because the dragon capsule passed over my old house. But I live in Portugal now. Oh, really? You were from US? Okay, shish. Where in Portugal you are? Oh, Azores, okay. I see. Ah, outra coisa que eles queriam fazer é isto, de 2 Starship, mas não é assim. Não é bem assim, acho que é um em cima do outro, para reabastecer. Ok, X. Combinadíssimo. Abastecer para poder sair da órbita da Terra com o tanque cheio. Porque um dos problemas para ir a Marte ou para ir para onde quer que seja é que gastamos tipo 80% a 90% do combustível só para sair da Terra. Depois não resta quase nada para o resto da viagem. Ora bem, family took a cool video of the capsule. Really? Is it online? How did you take it? You need to have a big ass camera with zoom. Telescope. Oh, landing? The capsule coming back? Okay, okay. Can I see that? Yeah. Isto é uma ideia de usar o Starship como transporte na Terra, tipo para viajares de uma ponta à outra da Terra. Tipo, se calhar em 20 minutos estás do outro lado da Terra, isso não sou eu. Isto era brutal, ver. 39 minutos. 22 minutos. Yeah, sure. Uma animação. É. Really cool. I would love to watch a launch and stuff like that, but it's really hard for me. I'm super far away. Like to have to understand how noisy it is, like to feel the vibrations of that explosion of the engines. Because This is controlled explosions, basically. The space shuttle. Yeah, I think the space shuttle isn't as powerful as this one. This one is the most powerful rocket now. The record holder right now. So it really it should be way louder. I saw an animation. Done by a guy, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it was this dude. Yeah, it's gonna be the third integrated flight test. I really want to see, what I'm hoping for today is to see the Starship coming back, the heat tiles working, and maybe, I don't know, seeing the booster land in the water.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Oh, they're gonna test this door as well. Raptor 3 engines, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. 33, no, Raptor. I think it's 33 Raptor engines.
Miko.
Starship Raptor engines.
Starship position confirmed. Second stage ignition.
33 Raptor 2 engines, but 3 of those have failed. Yeah, now it's 33 Raptor 3 engines, it's a new model. You are close by? Mirkat? Damn, you guys are lucky. Boas, Villiers, como é que é?
Boost back startup.
You guys are really lucky. Today they're gonna test the relight of the Raptor engines in space as well. It's never been done before, from what I heard. I've read something about NASA is gonna pay $53 million if something is successful, like a part of a test. Really, Mirkat? Awesome, bro. Amazing. I would love to be close by, to go there. You guys are searching SpaceX on Twitch to come by on this channel, because it's not usual to... Vamos ver aqui o IF2. No primeiro lançamento, a base fudeu-se toda. Por isso é que os motores também estavam todos fodidos, porque saltou Alcatrão e o caralho por todo lado. South Padre Island. Oh, the launch is let's see. SpaceX. It's close to. It's Florida, I think. Yeah. Has a name.
We are T plus 40 seconds into the flight of Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the first stage.
Power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard power and telemetry nominal call out. We're heading downrange over the Gulf of Mexico.
Boca Chica.
And that call out tells us Starship is through the period of greatest stress on the way to space. Now the next major event is hot staging in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor engines. Clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship second stage will ignite.
It's basically where they have the gateway to Mars.
And at the same time, the 3 engines that are still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
Starbase. SpaceX. Why can't I search on Google? It's here. SpaceX launch facility. Yeah, it's here.
Engine power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines. We're about to shut down the first stage and perform staging.
It's close to
watch and listen.
The equator. It's how we say it in English. Why close to the equator? Because we get a little help from the Earth rotation. It would be way harder if we were launching stuff from up here. Also, it's a good launching zone because you can do a path on the water. So if anything goes wrong, you land on here, on the water, here, somewhere. So you don't go over where people live. Okay,
on the way
to see this.
We have the bus. Vehicle pitching downrange.
Chambers pressure nominal.
I found you where you were playing Demonologist. Really? Alright. Estás a ver com 5 streams, William?
40 seconds into the flight of Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the first stage.
Power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard power and telemetry nominal call out.
Partes importantes. Esta cena dos motores a desligar foi brutal. Todos a desligar, todos direitinhos, todos sincronizados. Esta cena foi muito importante. Terem conseguido fazer. Depois a volta arrebentou com tudo.
Of our super heavy booster, and as you can see, the super heavy booster has just
scheduled rapid disassembly.
To dissipate for re-entry to that need pressure.
If it would be survive, improve.
Aqui uma explosão que nem deu para perceber bem o que é que se passou.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. What's also crazy is that we're approaching 391,000 subscribers up here. Thank you so much for everybody who is pushing those subscribe buttons. We're soon going to see this thing tip over the 91, which is absolutely, it's insane. Thank you. Johannes Hell, thank you very much for the super chat. Many thanks for all your effort in bringing space closer to us. And hello aus Mainz. Okay, so I grew up very close to Mainz. That is very nice. It's basically from my old neighborhood. Thank you very much for being here today. Boycottina again. Thank you very much for the super chat. Do you have an? Because
how is that possible that there's a launch? There was a launch close to you, and your parents and everyone was not everyone awake and bring you to show you, look, this is gonna happen if you live close by. How could you be sleeping and no one? That doesn't make sense. If I live there, everyone that lives there knows that's gonna have a launch there, and the roads are closed. They close the roads, so because safety measures and shit, I don't know. I would totally have my kids woken up. Look, kids, let's go here on this position and let's go see a rocket launch. Not sleeping at home. that does not. Does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
I would never let something like that pass. And at that time, it was something so rare. Because you said it was your.
Focus on that, and it wasn't an auto setting, so we're trying to fix that right now.
I don't know. Like these launches are rare. These big ones. I don't believe the rocket, the Falcon 9 is gonna do that because it's every single week.
33 Raptor engines are inside.
There's launches.
Launch mount. You can't see those from the outside. This orbital launch mount basically is a very genius idea by SpaceX to get rid of some parts that normally would be inside the rocket, like the startup process for the outer 20 engines. Normal conventional rocket has all its startup systems inside the rocket, so that
I would not go to work at all.
In this case, it's the pad starting the outer 20 engines. Just because
this is like a historical moment
for the boost back burn, they are not needed. It uses the inner engines for these kinds of things. So the outer 20 engines just need to light once, and SpaceX decided to put all the necessary parts to make them light up
once in a lifetime experience.
So technically,
it's not something that you get to see every day. Like maybe one day, if this is so successful, it's gonna be easy to see.
The picture is very chopped right now.
Idea.
Can we switch to Lone Palm? Mm-hmm.
46 minutos para o lançamento.
Yes. That was to be expected. It's the connection out there that makes it really, really hard during those days to get anything out. On IFT2, that worked way better, so I'm wondering if it's also partly the fog that creates this problem. That might be because we're beaming these signals over longer distances, and fog is really, really bad for that kind of stuff. So we'll just wait and see how that goes. Can we zoom that picture?
That's actually what we do. We have a lot of air fiber. We have a lot of.
Este gajo tem muito melhor.
It's probably going to be hard to reach
preparação para isto.
What's that called? Nano beams and thingy beams and oh my
Star Hopper.
2.4 gigahertz.
Este Star Hopper foi teste.
Help, Andrew, someone in my ear, just tell me what the other air fiber is.
Agora está ali tipo só para
still have
só porque
Air
sim.
Max? No. Power.
Levantaram o voo por ele, ficou ali um bocadinho no ar e aterrou de volta. E fumarada. Mas não tem uso nenhum. Depois, Starship. Eu gosto é do teste do Starship Landing. Este é que é bonito.
3
Nem parece real. Mas é real. Não parece real, mas é real. Test.
That into dust jack all from the vehicle. Did they? Wow. Just
Cool has frozen.
Yep.
Hopefully they will get that back, but that is
ability clouds.
right when I said I wanted a exciting.
Kilometers an hour. Yeah. Good till the belly cap.
Eu nem sequer vi este teste.
The cameras have never frozen. Arming that's on our bit.
Good. That is so. I hope we can see when it goes into a cloud.
Wow.
I know.
Is that it's
so this plume? You can see the plume behind it.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, whoa. Oh,
that looks good.
Okay.
Oh,
that was really good.
Oh
Here
my
we go.
gosh, do it. Please, come on.
Oh, it's
do
so
it.
smooth.
Do it. Do it.
Oh,
Oh.
come on. Come on.
Was that just a
It
big?
did it?
We're
Did it
waiting.
do it?
I think.
Oh. Look at it all different angles
It's
here.
so
There's a
smooth.
nose cone through there. There's a nose cone through there.
Caraca. Que eu vi aquele vídeo. Isto é o Ricardo esse ano 15. A vida não é só álcool. É só álcool e cona. A vida também é fugir deste planeta que já está fodido. Temos que ir para Marte. A culpa é minha. Eu nem ando de carro. Trabalho aqui em casa. Não andar a poluir o ambiente. E bebo álcool para não andar a gastar água. Ah, eu é que não pago o leitão, tá bem. Caraca, havia aqui um vídeo que era bem top, se via o gajo a dar a volta. Ver. Opa, mas pronto, basicamente ele estava a cair de barriga e dá...
Ignition.
E arranca de lado para se meter de pé e a terra. E era isto que eu gostava de ver hoje, só que isto vai ser na água, não vai haver filmagem sequer.
1,000 times bigger, which wouldn't be quite 1,000 times heavier because
56 minutos.
The relationship between volume and, you know, things like the circumference of the rocket and all that stuff. But it would be much heavier. So obviously that would take away from your payload. I don't think it's even possible to use, like, I don't even know if you could lift. I don't even know if you could run a rocket on gaseous.
Já aumentaram mais
and
25 minutos.
Foda-se. The rocket equation would be so nasty for gaseous oxygen.
Oh, trollar.
It would be horrible. Wow. All right, time for another. I think we got to do this about every 30 minutes. We're trying to purge the world of the fake spam and scam accounts. There's still tons of them. If you search right now on YouTube and say SpaceX or Starship, you will see about 10 or 20 scam streams. If you please report them. That's our only weapon we have right now as a community to fight misinformation and to help prevent people from getting scammed out of money, thinking that Elon's giving them Bitcoin or something for a rocket launch, which, come on.
Tem aqui milhares de lives.
But there are sadly gullible people that might see that and be like,
esta Vânia Machado.
Cool. I didn't know they're doing that, you know.
But
unfortunately, we see people then that are like, well, it blew up.
Space Orbit,
and it just spreads misinformation. So By the way, you can see a blimp there. That blimp is actually part of...
O canal é tipo fake?
I think it is a lot higher than that. Oh, it's actually parked right now. It's just like that. Okay. That's actually part of Border Patrol, if I remember correctly.
Canal SpaceX IF3.
So, not flying right now. It's an Aero what?
Não entendo.
An Aero stat?
Featured vídeos. É os vídeos do SpaceX oficial.
That information.
Para parecer bué fake.
Cool. Aerostat. There it is. The Border Patrol Aerostat. But yeah, we got 137,000 people. Let's get some of you guys helping to report those. If you see a stream that has a QR code, that's a red flag right there. Just report that. Get that out of here. That's our best weapon right now to fight
just over 100 kelvins.
We are
That's about
live.
minus 272 degrees below zero on the Fahrenheit scale. Now, liquid methane is a different fuel from Falcon 9.
Here, including a nice tip and a recommendation from Cywood saying make sure to select 4K manually. Mine was stuck on 1080p for some reason, and it doesn't do it enough justice. It is actually shocking when you're watching on a TV. The reality is, like, most of the time between 1080 and 4K, depending on how far you're sitting from a monitor, you really probably won't notice. However, the one thing you will notice on YouTube, the compression of 1080 is horrible. It just actually looks bad. That's what I notice when I'm watching. If I are taxing on YouTube's end, but hey, come on. We are the only point-to-point from photon to your eyeball 4K stream available, so welcome. We are 5 miles or 8 kilometers away from this rocket right here in our studio. We will be going outside, which soon we need to actually get the bags off of equipment out there on the deck and prepare to go outside here. We'll probably do that at T-minus 30 minutes or so. But yeah, make sure you're watching in 4K. Send the stream to a friend if they're excited about this rocket. But we are coming up on what we expect to be prompt load at T-minus 53 minutes. We expect to see liquid oxygen loading onto Starship. So let's go ahead and get this side by side up here. If we have that available, so we can hopefully start to get a glimmer of whether or not it's actually loading onto the booster. Our thermal here will actually be able to cut through that condensation cloud pretty well, and you'll actually probably be able to see it loading up onto the ship. Because right now it's pretty obscured by the condensation, as you can tell. Hey, but good news, I see some of our trackers are still seeing things, which is fantastic. So we do have some line of sights. So we should be seeing propellant loading begin, starting with the ship with liquid oxygen. So we're just going to be looking for, basically, it'll start to look like a solid white line at Starship, pretty close to that condensation cloud, right around there. Currently, you know, the liquid or the gaseous oxygen is kind of blocking the visible light to there, but again, our thermal cam will actually probably start cutting through that. Once it gets cold enough, as the ship cools down, you'll actually start to see a line growing. Yeah, it's funny, the thermal cam's definitely working. However, the readout for the temperatures are way wrong. That is so funny. I'm glad that the thermal aspect is working. I'm confused why the, yeah. Dang. This is crazy, guys. It is. Yeah, it is happening. This is a good question from Justin Wood. Love the work you guys do. Question: how much extra propellant does SpaceX store in the tank farm on a failed load? How many retries would they have? So they're continually making upgrades. So some of this information might be not as valuable. But I think with the recent upgrades, they might have enough. If they load today, completely load, and then scrub, I don't know what the reset time is anymore. Previously, it seemed to be almost 3 full days if they had to totally fill.
Eles não podem atrasar mais, porque lá o window é até às 8h50. Nós já estamos a falar.
With the upgrades, that's a lot quicker now.
Yeah,
likely, if they go totally full to the brim today and go for a launch attempt, and then they have to scrub it, I don't know if they can re-condense everything and get it back ready and replenished by tomorrow, but they might be able to. I don't think we've seen that yet. So we will see.
Propellant load is now underway.
I still.
8h25.
Okay, so the venting on the tower has stopped.
Ok, já estão a começar a meter Combustível. Onde é que eu vejo o live?
Is this another push?
Watch. Já atrasaram.
Not seeing any prop load.
SpaceX just tweeted that propellant load of Starship's upper stage is now underway as of 30 seconds ago.
Okay, so that means they closed the vent valve on the tower and they are officially loading. So now we should start to see Starship. We're looking for a white line here. So that's should crop up pretty close to the chopsticks there. Wow. So they're moving forward, guys. It is actually moving forward.
Ok, vai
We are
acontecer.
officially into prop load. Let's keep that, if we can, let's keep that thermal up side by side. That is actually quite valuable. Oh, I see what you guys are doing. You're trying to line it up real tidy, aren't you? Oh, we're drifting. It was in a good spot where it was. So we should actually start seeing the upper stage getting white. White would be propellant, cryogenic propellant showing up through the stainless steel skin of the rocket. Now you will notice on this side of the rocket, the side facing our cameras here, drifting. It was in a good spot where it was. So we should actually start seeing the upper stage getting white.
You can sometimes see
white
that flash in the distance
propellant,
over there, just slightly above.
Cryogenic propellant showing up through the stainless steel skin of the rocket. Now you will notice on this side of the rocket, the side facing our cameras here, that the rocket is stainless steel, just bare stainless steel. But on the upper side, or on the opposite side there, you see that you can start to see the black on the left-hand side of the ship. That is the thermal tile system. That is the side that will re-enter. And there are no heat shield tiles on the leeward side, on the part that is not experiencing re-entry heat, because it's just not necessary. So why add that extra mass? Why add that extra, all the extra things involved in putting the heat shields on? If you don't have to do it, then don't do it. So that's exactly why the heat shields and same with vehicles like the space shuttle or any capsule has a heat shield only on one side. So it's quite normal to see, and that's kind of the normal thing. But yeah, it's quite obvious on this ship, though. You see a very stark line there between the heat shield and the stainless steel. So even if our cameras were on the other side, the thermal tiles would actually, it might take a little bit longer for them to thermally conduct and match the temperatures. But you would actually also see the frost line and see it here with our thermal camera. I am surprised, though, that at this point, our stream, apparently we're having reports that our stream is dropping out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything's happening on our end. Andrew or anybody, do we still have comms and stuff? Are we... Okay, we're looking here, trying to see what's going on. Trying to see if it's anything on our end or if it happens to be YouTube. Wouldn't be great if it was on YouTube's end. Everyone just do a refresh on YouTube sometimes. Andrew or anybody, do we still have comms and stuff? Are we...
Zone. There are
okay, we're looking here,
of people
trying to see what's
anticipating
going on.
This launch on site. So the interest
trying
in
to
the
see if
community
on our
about
end or if
all
it happens
this
to
in the
be
United
YouTube.
States is just way higher than anywhere else in the world. You got to give it to the Americans. They know how to celebrate this kind of stuff. Hey TJ, how you doing?
Sorry, I just chirped up.
So go ahead
and
refresh the YouTube feed. Let us know. We will. It's buffering for people still. Yeah, let us know if you guys in Discord 4 views without me talking. So if that's of interest of you and you want to continue your own mission control in your own house, being a supporter anywhere, we have a link. So if you support on YouTube as a subscriber, or as a member, Patreon supporter, or an ex-subscriber, we did post a link to our clean feed. It's 4 different views. They just kind of stay up the whole time. So if you're one of those people with multiple monitors and you're trying to watch every single angle, you can add 4 more. And you can just hear, if you don't want to hear me talk, I totally get it. Don't worry. I won't take offense to that. I'm here just watching with you guys, trying to keep you guys as up to date as possible. And I know they said prop load has begun, but I'm not seeing it on thermal. But we should be getting close to prop loading on the booster. And there is a lot of condensation. Oh, the black line on the tower. That is crazy. What is black? Black should be hot on thermal, right? And white is cold. Okay. Wow. Wow. So like heat pump style. Like there's likely the black part is the heat coming out of the system. And the white is, so it is probably flowing. We're just not yet seeing it. It might still be filling the bulkheads, and we might not be seeing it yet. How are our views looking out there? Still foggy. Still foggy. Really hoping sunrise has happened, right? 7:38. Sunrise has happened. However, we need more of that sun to burn off those clouds and the fog that has that is sitting over us right now.
SpaceX has tweeted that prop load of the Super Heavy booster is underway as of 30 seconds ago.
That lines up with their timeline.
Oh,
there we go. A ring has begun on the ship too. You can finally see a white ring on the ship. Yep, there is that. Our thermal camera proves that they have been loading propellant. Don't forget, you won't see it until it really gets, because there's a bulkhead. So there's like a bowl. Imagine a bowl inside of a tube. You won't see it while it's in the bowl part, and so you don't actually see it. It won't affect the outer skin until it gets to the upper rim of that bowl, and then it'll just be filling like a cup. So they could have been filling it for a while, and you don't see it. So that is great news. That is great news. Cool, cool, cool. Ooh, yeah, and a black line on the booster. That also must be like a purge line or something interesting. I've never seen these black lines. I need Zach from CSI Starbase to tell me why there'd be black lines on the booster there. I mean, that would be coming between, that's the common dome. It goes right up to the common dome between the methane tank and the oxygen tank. But that's shocking how contrasted that is. It's so crazy. You can't see that on, the visible light, but you see it. You sure do see it on the thermal cam. Again, I wish we could turn off the temperature overlay. I don't know if we can, because it is so wrong. But the thermal camera is very much working. This is so cool. And now you start to see on the booster as well. Look at the bottom of the booster. We can watch live as the propellant fills the vehicle. That is so freaking awesome. Come on, are you not entertained? We are. Oh, I'm getting excited now that I know like the rocket is filling with propellant.
For this,
it is looking fantastic, everybody. Yes.
Subscribers only.
This is so great.
Esqueci.
We're still getting dropouts on YouTube. That's not great for us.
Right now. Nada bom.
We, I think everything on our end data-wise is actually good. So sadly, it might be a YouTube ingest issue right now, which is very not good for us, and that'd be far out of our control. We are firing on all cylinders, believe it or not, for on our feed, right? Our data is solid, right? I'll get confirmation here from production land. They might be troubleshooting. Yeah, our connection is totally solid. So unfortunately, that is crazy that it is that is crazy. Yeah, even YouTube Stream Health says excellent connection. Stream Health is excellent. YouTube's happy. I don't know why. This might be, I recommended earlier, making sure you're in 4K. Maybe too many people are, maybe, I mean, think about it. We have 136,000 people. Maybe the servers can't keep up with that. We might need people to watch in 1080. Like, that might actually be what's happening. Our connection is fantastic. YouTube is actually happy from us, which is weird. Wow. Yeah, the fog is getting worse right now. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. But look at the propellant loading on the booster and on Starship. Wow. It's happening, my friends. In Discord, I don't know if you guys can hear everyone okay, but it's YouTube. Apparently, NSF is having similar failures too. People asking, let's do. We got a lot of people here that are new. Let's go ahead and do kind of a rundown on what we're seeing and what we're about to do. This thing is by far the most powerful rocket to ever fly. Today's flight test, they're really hoping, they have some big milestones. So they're feeling quite a lot more confident and have milestones that we have not seen on prior flight tests. So they do expect to get through stage separation today. It is still a suborbital trajectory, but it's re-entering in the Indian Ocean. The upper stage will be re-entering in the Indian Ocean, so passing over Africa and re-entering off the coast of Madagascar, re-entering in the Indian Ocean. And the biggest milestones for them is during that coast phase, after Starship engine cutoff, it'll be in space floating and heading over towards that way for a good, I believe it's about an hour more or less. We can see in the timeline here. Let me take a look at timeline. Re-enter is 50 minutes, I guess, after. So it'll begin re-entry after in the Indian Ocean. And the biggest milestones for them is during that coast phase, after Starship engine cutoff, it'll be in space floating and heading over towards that way for a good, I believe it's about an hour more or less. We can see in the timeline here. Let me take a look at timeline. Re-enter is 50 minutes, I guess, after. So it'll begin re-entry after 50 minutes. It'll do a Raptor relight at 40 minutes. So it'll spend, 30-some minutes in space in zero-G environment, suborbital, though. So they're never targeting orbit. The 3 milestones we're expecting to see during those 30-some minutes. What did I say? 50 minutes. So basically they'll have like 41 minutes more or less of 40-ish minutes of zero-G environment, suborbital trajectory. They have 3 milestones they're hoping to achieve today. They're going to do a simple open the payload bay door, make sure it works, open and close. It's the small one. They have a tiny little door that looks kind of like a mouth that's just opens, and then on future missions they'll start deploying Starlinks out of that flat, like a Pez dispenser. Is actually by far the best way to describe it. And they call it the Pez dispenser, and there's a reason for it, because it looks like a Pez dispenser. And they'll be opening that door and closing it. They will also be doing a fuel transfer test between the header tank and the main tank. That's an exciting milestone if they complete that successfully. That is a milestone for a NASA contract to prove out on orbit or zero-G transfer of large amounts of cryogenic propellant, so that's very exciting. And then the other big milestone is they are trying to relight the Raptor engine, and relight a Raptor engine to simulate a deorbit burn. And so basically, it is a suborbital trajectory the whole time. They won't put this thing into orbit until they know they can relight a Raptor engine to safely re-enter. So that's a very big milestone, and we expect to see that at about T plus 40 minutes. So we will, of course, be bringing you guys coverage, bringing in the SpaceX feeds and reporting along with you guys during all those milestones that we hopefully get feeds of. We'll hopefully have feeds and not just have to be like, oh, they did it.
Boas,
we do
Súlios,
expect that, assuming the Starship gets through its big primary objectives of getting through those portions, and it makes it through the full burn. The other primary objectives, the booster will hopefully be doing a boost back burn, so returning back towards the launch site, but not to the launch site. That's a pretty important distinction. And they will be attempting to do a landing burn over the water. So a soft landing, making sure they have control over the booster the whole way, validating all of the things like the grid fins, that it can handle re-entry. Don't forget, Starship is doing something different than the Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 has to do a re-entry burn. It has to slow down before it enters the primary, the thickest part of the atmosphere. Not the thickest part of the atmosphere, but they slow down before they begin to really re-enter so that the atmosphere doesn't damage the booster. Starship, on the other hand, made out of stainless steel instead of aluminum, can just handle re-entry, or so they're hoping. A similar thing happens even with Rocket Lab's Electron. They just let that thing re-enter. They just make sure it's oriented correctly, and they give it, little beefening up of the engine section to make sure it can handle that re-entry heat, and they just let it happen. And that is pretty crazy, honestly. So that's what Starship's hoping to do, is just basically super heavy booster will just re-enter.
Como é que é? Temos live oficial 52.
So,
agora.
And then simulate a landing burn. So that's what we're expecting to see out of the booster today. Scott Manley is reporting that weather is not cooperating right now. Flying.
Parece uma qualidade. Olá, senhores twitters, Elon Muskanos, aumentaram a qualidade do Twitter. Let's fucking go, baby! Já podia ter acontecido. Os gajos já adiaram 3 vezes. Boom.
Hello and good morning. You're looking at a live view of Starship, the world's most powerful launch vehicle and by far the biggest flying object ever made. We're currently at T plus 31 minutes and 24 seconds awaiting our third flight test of Starship from Starbase, Texas, or what we here at SpaceX like to call the gateway to Mars. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to be joining you from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Now it's just been 100. You can tell the crowd is already excited behind us. Now it's only been 117 days since our last Starship test. And for those of you following along, more exciting, as you can hear, than to watch a developmental flight test.
That's absolutely right. Flight test days guarantee the maximum level of excitement, as you can hear behind us. And if it all goes well, Starship will lift off just about 30 minutes from now. We're hoping to surpass what we achieved in flight test number 2 back in November of last year. But regardless of today's outcome, the goal is to collect as much data as possible, and that'll help us get one step closer to a fully operational Starship. Now, Starship, which you see on your screen, is the latest and the largest vehicle developed to date by SpaceX and in the world ever. Compared to Saturn V, the rocket that first took astronauts to the moon, Starship has more than twice the thrust, and with some upgrades that are planned for the future, it'll have 3 times the thrust.
Starship will allow us to fly the heaviest payloads ever flown, land humans on the moon again after more than a half century, and ultimately fly humans further into space than ever before, even to Mars. But the most important thing about Starship is that it's designed to be a fully, rapidly reusable, reliable rocket, or what we like to call the 4 Rs. And we'll talk more about those later in the webcast. But before we dive into the details of today's test, let's recap the achievements of our last integrated flight test, Flight 2. All 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster started up successfully and, for the first time, completed a full duration burn during ascent. As you can see here, we saw amazing views of each Raptor engine burning during that ascent, which is something awesome because we don't get to see that with Falcon and its Merlin engines.
Now, next, Starship executed a successful hot stage separation, powering down all but 3 of Super Heavy's Raptor engines and successfully igniting the 6 second stage Raptor engines before the vehicle separated. This is the first time this technique has been done successfully with a vehicle of this size and scale.
Following separation, the Super Heavy booster successfully performed its flip maneuver and initiated the boost back burn. However, about 30 seconds into that burn, it experienced a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or RUD. That's SpaceX speak for an exciting end to the booster's journey. The likely cause was determined to be filter blockage, where liquid oxygen is supplied to the engines. So we've upgraded hardware inside the oxygen tank to improve filtration capabilities in our boosters, including the one that's out on the pad today. Vehicle breakup occurred more than 3.5 minutes into the flight, about 90 kilometers over the Gulf of Mexico, so well away from people.
Now, on Starship, the 6 second stage Raptor engines all started successfully at separation, and everything was going normally in the ship's climb to space until about 7 minutes into the flight, when we began a planned vent of excess liquid oxygen propellant. To simulate the mass of a payload and get future-focused data, the ship was loaded with extra propellant that we needed to get rid of or vent before re-entry. Once we started venting, though, a leak developed that caused fires, which eventually cut the connection between the flight computers on the ship, and that caused the 6 Raptor engines to shut down before we had finished the full burn. That was detected as a mission rule violation by the Autonomous Flight Safety System, which triggered the flight termination system and led to vehicle breakup.
Starship's second flight test nearly completed its full duration burn. It ended at an altitude of about 150 kilometers and a velocity of 24,000 kilometers per hour, officially making it the first Starship to reach outer space. Like the booster, we've made upgrades to Starship's upper stage based on Flight 2 learnings, such as improved leak reduction, fire protection, and changing the operations to increase reliability.
Now, back at the launch site, the new water-cooled flame deflector and other pad upgrades performed as expected, so the pad required minimal post-launch rework. And that's a big reason why we are ready to fly again today. The ground support systems are designed for rapid turnaround of the launch pad between flights, and the improvements we've made ahead of Flight 3 are getting us closer to that goal. And that brings us to today's test. The test profile and the burn timeline are very similar to test number 2, with one major difference. The ship will attempt to splash down in the Indian Ocean rather than the Pacific. This puts us on a steeper trajectory than past flights and lets us test capabilities that we'll need for the future, like lighting a Raptor in space while maximizing public safety. So let's take a closer look at the flight test profile. Now, about 26 minutes from now, Super Heavy will ignite its 33 Raptor engines and lift off from Starbase. About 3 minutes into the flight, Super Heavy's booster will separate from the ship in SpaceX's second ever attempt at a hot stage separation. That means it'll light its engines while still attached to a partially lit booster. The ship's engines will then remain lit for about 6 minutes during the ascent before entering a coast phase.
Next, the booster will perform a flip maneuver and execute a boost back burn, which, if you recall, is where Flight 2 Super Heavy experienced a rapid unscheduled disassembly. We're hoping hardware upgrades made for this flight will get the booster closer to executing a landing burn in the Gulf of Mexico. In the meantime, Starship will coast for about 30 minutes at altitudes between 150 and 235 kilometers, and the ship will attempt to fire a single Raptor engine for our first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space. And from there, the ship will head toward its destination,
o
splashdown
motor Raptor
location
pela
in
primeira
the
vez
Indian
no
Ocean.
espaço, ver se funciona.
Again, if we get past a successful stage separation and a full ascent burn with the upper stage, it will be at an added altitude and trajectory below orbital, meaning Starship won't have to fire its Raptor engines for a deorbit burn, and it will naturally come back into the atmosphere no matter what.
Now, meanwhile, the Super Heavy is going to attempt a landing burn before splashing down into the Gulf. And while we are going to practice a landing, we aren't planning to recover any of the hardware from Super Heavy or the ship on this flight. Now, with the exception of Falcon, this is no different from what happens with most rockets flying today that are expended or fall into the ocean after they complete their mission. Eventually, though, we will land and recover Starship boosters and ships, just as we do with Falcon 9 and Heavy boosters, where we've recovered 283 to date. Starship's rapid reusability is key as we begin missions to the moon and beyond.
Even though recovery is not planned, the telemetry and data we receive all the way to the end is what we're looking for, particularly with regard to the ship's temperatures during re-entry and how the heat shield will perform. The data that we gather today, of course, will help us continue to build a rapidly reusable Starship for the future.
A parte de cima acho que é para ir para o oceano, mas a parte de baixo não, é para ir buscá-la.
Also, still just a test. Our goal is to gather data to continue iterating and ultimately improve Starship.
That's exactly right. The primary goal for Flight 1 was to clear the pad, and we did that and got a lot of great data that helped us improve the vehicle and the pad infrastructure that you see today. The primary goal of Flight 2 was to get all the way to stage separation, which we did, and even got a little extra.
For Flight 3, we've added some ambitious tests highlighted by an attempt to transfer several tons of propellant between the tanks inside Starship itself, as well as the first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space and the opening and closing of Starship's payload door. When Starship takes astronauts to the lunar surface as part of NASA's Artemis program, it will be refilled in space by a Starship tanker spacecraft before boosting itself into a lunar orbit, like you see here. Transferring a large amount of cryogenic liquid in space has never been done by anyone, ever. So we'll be looking to get data on some of the fundamental physics in play here, like managing pressures, temperatures, propellant settling, all as we prepare for eventual ship-to-ship transfers. The ability to refill Starships once in orbit will be critical for landing on the moon and is a key technology for enabling deep space exploration and ultimately flights to Mars.
Now, we're also attempting the first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space, and we'll need that capability for future in-space maneuvers and deorbit burns. It's important to note that what we'll attempt today is not a burn required for Starship to re-enter on today's test. We are intentionally flying this new steeper trajectory so we can test things like engine relights without substantially changing where we expect to splash down. And if Starship manages to make it all the way to re-entry, we will collect valuable data on the vehicle as it flies through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, or more than 5 times the speed of sound. We expect it'll look something like this animation on your screen with the heat shield tiles facing down. We'll use the Earth's atmosphere to brake the vehicle and then get us into a controllable regime as we go towards splashdown. Now, we did validate Starship's ability to fly and land at subsonic speeds during our suborbital flights several years ago. And gathering data on the aspects like heating and vehicle control while we're traveling way faster will become critical to eventually bringing Starships back from space for rapid reuse.
We'll also attempt to open and close Starship's payload door for the very first time, a capability that we'll need when Starship starts flying our next generation Starlink satellites. And there you can see an animation of what that will look like as the satellites are deployed one by one through a slot near the top of the spacecraft. So at this point in time, we are approaching T-minus 21 minutes until liftoff. Let's check in with Dan for a countdown update.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Hey, everybody. I'm Dan Hewitt. Good morning. Welcome to Starbase. I'm coming to you from the Raptor's Nest, where I'm here with some of our flight controllers, also our Pad Red team. We're just behind the Mega Bay. Those are our Super Heavy boosters right behind me, getting ready for the next 4 flights after this one. So we're looking to launch a lot this year. The countdown has been pretty clean so far. We're not tracking any issues that are gating us on the hardware side and the vehicle side from that on-time liftoff at 8:25 a.m. Central Time. That's our T0 right now. We primarily shifted later as we were just working to clear the range. The other big watch item today is going to be the winds. The winds have started to pick up. We're still looking to be below our limits, but there could be a hold at T-minus 40 seconds just to make sure that the winds are acceptable before we go. We are actively loading propellant on board the vehicle. You can see by the frost line starting to build up. Looks like we're about 80% on the ship main tanks right now and a little over 60% on the booster. Now, Starship uses liquid methane as its fuel, liquid oxygen as its oxidizer. Both of those get cooled down to cryogenic temperatures, so several hundred degrees below zero. And if you followed along with our previous 2 flight tests, the prop load timeline today looks a little bit different. Those first flight tests, it took us about 90 minutes to load all of the prop on board. But since the second flight, we made some pretty significant upgrades to make that time shorter. We added some additional fuel and LOX pumps just to increase our capacity. We expanded the number of heat exchangers and installed a dedicated fill drain line for each stage. But they were sharing one before, now they each have their own. That's just that main pathway to get the propellant to the vehicle. We're aiming for about 51 minutes for today's operation to fully load prop. We did that successfully on our wet dress rehearsal that we did recently. Eventually, though, we're trying to get that time down to about 40 minutes. Just for some context, that's about 5 minutes longer than we take on Falcon 9, but we're doing it with 10 times the amount of propellant. Now, the propellant load on ship started at about T-minus 53 minutes, booster right around T-minus 42 minutes. We are about to pause loading on the main tanks of ship, switch over to the header tanks, and then switch back to close out the main tanks. We're expecting all of the prop to be on ship at about T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds, and then booster prop load ends at T-minus 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, our final countdown and startup sequence is going to be the same as Flight 2. We already tested this on this booster when we did its static fire. Looking back for Flight 1, we lit those Raptor engines on the booster and lifted off about 6 seconds later. Flight 2, we reduced that time by almost 2 seconds. That just helps reduce the stress on the ground systems, improve the efficiency of the rocket. But right now, we're just about to pass 18 minutes away from launch. Winds, again, they're still looking a little bit marginal, so we'll keep an eye on those. We're not working any other technical issues, and the range is expected to be green. If we can't make our test today, we have backup launch opportunities in the coming days. Could be 24 to 48 hours. All just depends on how far we get into the count. So check back in with everybody in just a little bit. For now, though, I'm going to send it back to Kate and Shiva out at Hawthorne.
Thanks, Dan. The countdown is continuing to progress, so let's take a closer look at the world's most powerful launch vehicle ever developed. Starship is comprised of 2 elements, the ship, which has 6 Raptor engines, and the Super Heavy booster, which has 33 Raptor engines. Starship is capable of about twice the thrust of the Saturn V rocket, and with future engine upgrades, it will actually be 3 times more powerful.
Now, with those future improvements, that'll allow Starship to carry somewhere between 150 and 250 metric tons to orbit, depending on the configuration. For reference, Falcon 9's heaviest payload to date is just over 17 metric tons. So with Starship, we're talking about an order of magnitude greater in terms of payload capability to orbit. And that matters because the amount of mass we're able to launch per rocket is critical to creating a self-sustaining city on Mars.
In terms of size, the Super Heavy booster alone stands about 71 meters or 233 feet tall and is about the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9. The ship stands about 50 meters or 160 feet tall. Stacked together, the booster and the ship are by far taller than the Statue of Liberty, which stands at 305 feet tall with its base. Stacked together, Starship is 396 feet, so quite a bit taller there.
Now, Starship's first stage has a diameter that's about 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and we've got those 33 much larger Raptor engines, this great view of the launch mount looking up at those engines, and we need them to power through the Earth's atmosphere and gravity to deliver those massive cargo and payloads up to space. Moving up the rocket, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing on any hard surface, and that's as opposed to taking off and landing on a runway as aircraft do. And that's important because there are no runways on the moon and Mars where we're going.
Isto é
The ship,
basicamente
which we're looking at now,
explosões.
features 6 Raptor
Explosões
engines. 3 of them are
controladas.
sea level engines, 3 of them are vacuum engines. That means that those vacuum engines are optimized with a larger engine nozzle to operate in the vacuum of space and get us higher performance.
The ship is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable a precision landing. The body of Starship is also wrapped in a heat shield made up of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles. Those are designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry, where temperatures can be as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. One of our test objectives today is to verify how Starship systems and thermal protection system tiles perform during reentry. And in between the
Quando
first and
estás
second
no
stages
espaço,
is
não há
our hot
atmosfera,
stage,
não
which
estás a
is
levar com o
critical
vento,
for our newest
estás na
separation
boa, mas
technique,
assim que
which we
entras
saw
na
in action
atmosfera,
during
o
flight
vento é
test.
tão forte da rapidez que tu estás a andar que tudo se quer desintegrar, tudo começa a pegar fogo. Então estes tiles estão feitos para conseguir suportar essas temperaturas.
Now, at about liftoff plus 2.5 minutes, the booster shut down most of its 33 engines, leaving just 3 of them running. And then the ship simultaneously ignited all 6 of its engines. Some clamps separated and the ship thrusted away. That was the first in-flight test of the heat shield, and we were able to gather a ton of valuable data about hot staging.
We maximize the vehicle's performance by leaving 3 first-stage engines on, so gravity can't rob us of precious velocity, or at least not as much. Hot staging also helps to ensure the ship's liquid propellants are at the bottom of the propellant tanks, which is where we need them to be in order to quickly light the ship's engines. It also reduces risk at stage separation because it creates a passive staging system so that physics will be doing the work instead of mechanical parts pushing the 2 stages away from each other. Ultimately, hot staging could increase Starship's payload-to-orbit capacity by 10%, which directly translates to more payload and more people to the Moon and Mars.
Now, the first stop will be the Moon, and the SpaceX team has been hard at work proving out all of the systems necessary to make that possible. Critical systems for propulsion, life support, and even the elevator that you see here, which will take crew and cargo from the Starship hatches down to the lunar surface, are currently in development. And the data that we gather from each test flight helps inform their design. Here we've got a photo of some of the mock-up suits that are used to demonstrate the range of mobility that astronauts will be expected to have. And we were using these to do human factors demonstrations and figure out the layout of the elevator. So all awesome development work for a future moon mission.
Super cool. Now, SpaceX will perform 1 uncrewed demonstration flight before NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which will be the first human surface expedition since 1972. After those first expeditions, we'll be ready to fly more people along with everything it takes to build a moon base. There's so much to look forward to. It's incredible that humans are finally going back to the moon.
You couldn't have said it better, Kate. And the moon is just the proving ground. It's just the start. When the time comes to make the leap to Mars, everything ramps up by orders of magnitude. The logistics of supporting an entire city on Mars are daunting and will require millions of pounds of cargo flown from Earth and spread out over thousands of launches.
And today's flight test is one more step toward that ultimate goal. We're currently at T-minus 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Let's check in with Dan once again for a countdown
no céu onde a Terra está é sempre todo o santo dia o mesmo. A Terra está sempre ali,
still good news
spot.
from down here at Starbase.
Nós
We're not
tivermos
tracking
a
any
Terra
technical issues that are
no
going to
céu
block us
ali,
to a
é
launch. Our
ali que ela
T0
está
time still holding
todo
to
o santo dia,
8:25
nunca se
a.m.
mexe.
Central, so just
Porque a
about
Lua
11 and a half
está
minutes from
lock
now.
com a Terra.
The
Tipo,
real
face
thing we're going
está
to keep an eye on
bloqueada com a
is the
Terra.
winds.
Então,
Once we get
onde quer
there,
que
we
eles
do
aterrem,
have
eles acordam
that
de
potential
manhã
hold at
ou
T-minus
whatever,
40
olham
seconds
para
where
aquele
we can hang
sítio
out
e a
and
Terra
either
está
let
ali.
winds die down, make
Vão
sure we're in the
dormir
right structural
e à
limits,
noite a
everything
Terra
like
está
that.
naquele sítio,
So
está
don't be
sempre naquele
surprised
sítio.
if we do a hold at T-minus 40.
Agora,
We've done
claro,
those on
estás a olhar
previous
para
flights,
ela, está de noite
but
e
we
está
are
de
not
dia, está
tracking
iluminada,
any
está...
technical issues. The range is going to
não
be green
está.
for launch, so all that really great news. We're still loading propellant on the vehicle, on the ship. We're just about done loading the header tanks, the 2 smaller tanks in the top, and then we'll go back to the main tanks. They're about 85% full, and then booster, both fuel and LOX over 80%. So looking good there. The launch pad itself is getting ready for liftoff. We commanded the booster hold downs open already about 20 minutes ago or so. And then that just means that once that rocket has sufficient thrust to overcome its weight, your thrust to weight ratio goes over 1, it's going to lift off. We don't have a command to actually release the hold downs once it starts up. Just also a reminder, actual liftoff happens a few seconds after you see those engines ignite. So you'll see fire, and then a few seconds before Starship really starts to take to the skies. Our range team just going to keep on making sure land, sea, air are all clear as we really count down. But that's the latest. We're just coming up on 10 minutes before launch. Everything looking good for Starship's third test flight. Toss it back to you guys in Hawthorne.
Great, thanks, Dan. Now, if you've been following SpaceX over the years, you've no doubt heard us talk about our goal of full and rapid reusability. Nearly all of the Falcon boosters flown last year and this year have been reused, or as we like to say, flight proven.
We've landed Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy boosters 283 times since first doing so in 2015. And with Starship, our mission is to take reusability even further by reflying both stages with little downtime between flights. And we plan to fly as often as possible. As we mentioned earlier, rapid and complete reusability is critical to enabling routine spaceflight. The team at Starbase has been hard at work developing and manufacturing the hardware that will ultimately take humans back and forth.
Não me parece haver cancelamento, vamos ver.
Even though we are not recovering Starship today, test flights like these provide the critical data that we need through every phase of flight. And that data informs future missions and gets us to that future where Starships are being recovered and rapidly reflown.
Our teams are also working on the ground systems that will support rapid reusability. When we start recovering Starship boosters, we'll want them to return to the launch site for a quicker turnaround, as you can see here depicted in this animation on your screen. This is when the tower reveals its dual purpose. After launch, the arms or the chopsticks on the tower will help guide the booster into position to ensure a soft landing. Now, if you're thinking that this sounds hard or even impossible to do, well, that's the inspiration for naming them chopsticks. Some of you might recall a little film called The Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi famously taught the main character, Daniel, that if he could catch a fly with chopsticks, he could accomplish anything.
Now, today we do have 4 ships and 4 super heavy boosters built, with more coming off the production line. As our Star Factory continues to grow, these vehicles are slated for future flight tests just like today's, and in fact,
eles já têm outras 4 na garagem, à espera. Eles estão mesmo tipo doidos a acelerar esta merda. Eles têm 4
now, as a reminder, today is still just a test. While we really hope to get our splashdown location in the Indian Ocean, but any data received will help us improve. It's the third of many future flight tests for Starship before it becomes fully operational.
O último teste foi há mês atrás.
That's the goal of flight tests. They teach us about the limits of our design and improve our understanding of the vehicle, and ultimately help us make Starship more reliable and rapidly reusable. So whatever the outcome and however far we get, we can promise excitement. And things look like they are moving fast at Starbase, and that's exactly how we like it.
Yeah,
Rapid
exactly.
Iteration is a key of SpaceX.
Yeah, we've done it with all of our major innovative advancements, including Falcon, Dragon, and Starlink. We believe that if you're not failing, you're not learning and improving the design.
Yeah, many of the innovations that we've developed have come from our failures, and they teach us how to avoid the perils of spaceflight. It's a tough business, but all of this testing, all of the iterative design allows us to make the design better and better to do some of the great accomplishments with reflight that we've had so far.
Exactly. One of the examples that we love to talk about is the Dragon capsule, like the one located behind Shiva and I here on the mezzanine. Originally, it was not designed to be reusable. We wanted to improve the initial design, and then when we brought Dragon 2 online, we had to do a lot of corrosion analysis based on flights that had splashed down and analysis on hardware received there. And now our Dragons are reusable and also rapidly at a much rapid pace.
Já ia ser uma cena muito mais OP. Se calhar tentar aterrar no sítio.
Our original Dragon to our new crew and cargo vehicles have directly improved the operations, and they've helped us change our understanding of what's possible when it
E
comes
se
to
calhar o
rocket
próximo
and
teste pode ser
spacecraft
daqui a 2
reusability.
meses ou daqui a mês.
Now, we're just under T-minus 6 minutes,
Porque
so I think it's
está
another
cada
good
vez
time
mais
to check in
rápido.
with Dan for the rest of terminal count. How are we looking, Dan?
Thanks, Shiva. We're looking good. 5 minutes, 35 seconds, and we're counting down. We are just about at closing the prop load sequences on booster and ship. Just a reminder, ship we're going to close out at around 3 minutes and 30 seconds, booster at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Once all of that prop is loaded on board, we'll have about 10 million pounds of propellant on both stages of Starship. Now, after that happens, we'll go through a couple of different procedures with the ground. We'll do what's called pushbacks, clearing out the lines between our prop farm and the vehicles themselves before we get to launch. And then in the next few minutes, we'll get the final guidance system alignments, some final thrust vector control on the booster checks, and all that will be performed. And again, if we need to hold, we have a hold gate built in at T-minus 40 seconds where we can hang out. It sounds like today we'll have about 15 minutes to hold at T-minus 40 if we need to. If we hit that right now, it looks like the most likely reason would be winds. We're not tracking any technical issues to our T0 at 8:25, just about 4.5 minutes from now. So, I mean, everything's really looking good. The booster's almost at full frosty, so we'll see that close out in just a couple of minutes. But we're getting really close to flight, guys.
The excitement is definitely growing here in Hawthorne, SpaceX headquarters. There is a large crowd gathering. You might hear them cheering occasionally. Now, Dan mentioned a good point about the holds. We have an opportunity to today hold for a few minutes. And this is a really cool thing about Starship. And we don't have this opportunity with Falcon or Falcon Heavy. Up until the T-minus 40-second point, aborts are just holds. So anything that would trigger an abort prior to T-minus 40 seconds becomes a hold. So that's a really cool feature to allow the team to wait for final checkouts or assess prop levels, engines, avionics, vehicle pressurization. It's really helpful to ensure a liftoff.
Yeah, and that's something that is very different from Falcon. I'm sure people have watched our launches, and then we get right down past prop load and then have to scrub because of weather or scrub because of an issue on the vehicle. And we don't have the same constraints on our propellant and our system with Starship, which gives us more availability in the window. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes the winds dip just enough where you can launch the rocket safely. And otherwise, if you didn't have that ability to hold a few minutes, you might miss that window and then have to recycle to another day.
Yeah, exactly, which is kind of like today. Like we mentioned earlier, winds are the thing that we are watching, so good news there. So we are still continuing to progress. We're looking at liftoff in just under almost 2.5 minutes from now. Super exciting. Like we said before, there's nothing more exciting than watching a test flight for a developmental program, and that's where we're at today.
And like we talked about, we have some really ambitious goals for today's test. But really, the point of today's test is to try to get as much data as we can so we can inform the next iteration of the design of Starship. We're posing those things into flight test number 4 and new objectives there that'll eventually get us to that glorious, rapid, reusable future that we so badly want.
Yeah, for flight 1, we wanted to clear the pad, and we did. For flight 2, we wanted to get through hot staging separation, and we did. So today, we want to get even further than that and collect as much data as we possibly can. So with all that being said, we're going to check back in with Dan to take us through the final 2 minutes of terminal count.
Vai parar nos 40 segundos.
All right, we are under 2 minutes away. We have closed out the prop load on the booster and on the ship. And we're starting to hear some good news that it looks like winds are not going to hold us up, so there's a good chance we blow right through that 40-second hold. So we're about a minute and 20 seconds away. Just walking you through one last time, we're going to see the engines ignite about 4 seconds before we hit our T0. They're going to ignite in 3 different banks. You'll get 13 of the inners, 15 of the outers, and then the last 5 ignite just 2 minutes before T0. And then after that, the quick disconnect will retract. The engines will start to throttle up, and then we'll see a second and a half after T0. So We're under a minute away.
Vamos ver.
Don't be shocked if we hold at
Yeah,
40
vai
seconds
hold
before,
aos
but it
40,
sounds like the
vai
winds
parar.
are cooperating today. And we'll be able to move right past that,
Se isto
not
passar dos
tracking
40
any
logo para
other
baixo é
technical
porque é
issues that
agora.
could
É agora!
Our QD vent gate.
É já!
through the QD vent gate past the 40-second hold.
Go for launch.
Não há hold.
Flight Director Ty Huntington telling the team we are go for launch. So
Go!
20 seconds to go.
Bora!
Let's listen in.
Go! Ok. Go direto. Isto não é normal.
9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Já está a arrebentar aqui, caralho. E vai ele. Ainda não explodiu. Ainda não explodiu. Siga. Isto já tínhamos visto. É só um replay básico. Vamos ver é como é que vai correr depois. Caralho, até a câmera se passou. A câmera nem sabe o que é que há de seguir. Perdeu-se. Temos câmaras a bordo. Top. Vantagem nestas câmaras, não cortam, porque Starlinks. O gajo tem Starlinks, nós conseguimos ver filmagens em todo lado, porque o gajo não perde a ligação. Parece o Ibiza tornado. Olha bem esta filmagem.
Continuing to get good call-outs, our trajectory looking nominal, systems looking nominal, just amazing to see all 33 lit up once again. At this point, we've already passed through max Q, that maximum dynamic pressure, and passing supersonic, so we're now moving faster than the speed of sound, getting those onboard views from the ship cameras. Now the next major milestone is going to be a hot staging maneuver. Again, we're going to be doing that in just about 90 seconds. To do that, we're going to shut down all but the 3 center Raptor engines on super heavy.
Isto é dos 0 aos 5
That'll be our MECO, our most engines cut off.
Nós aqui conseguimos ver os motores todos. Branco quer dizer que estão a arrancar. Temos aqui os dois tipos de combustíveis. A barra. Aqui, isto é a parte de cima, que vai agora separar. Com os motores, estes são maiores porque estão preparados para o vácuo de espaço. E estes são pequeninos para depois aterrar, usados para aterrar e tudo mais.
6 engines will push Starship off of the booster.
Agora vai acontecer a Hot Stage Separation, que é estes vão arrancar enquanto eles estão ligados para empurrar fora a parte de trás, o booster. E o booster vai dar uma volta para trás. Da outra vez, nessa volta para trás, o gajo rebentou todo. Nós desta vez queremos ver o gajo a voltar para trás e os motores a arrancar e não haver uma explosão. É agora. Já arrancou. Separou. Nada de novo. Agora, explode ou não explode? Explode ou não explode? Virou. Não temos câmera para ele. Temos os motores aqui. Parecem estar normais. Da outra vez apagaram-se alguns. Está tudo bem.
Kate, we got a Starship on its way to space and a booster on the way back to the Gulf.
Estamos a travar bué. Os motores estão bem.
Stunning. These are live views from Starship. First stage is currently performing the boost. Good there, news informing us that the second stage or the ship, everything looking good, nominal there. First stage is currently performing the boost back burn.
Está a travar bem, já está nos 1000.
1 minute. That boost back burn.
Desligaram metade
That
deles.
boost back burn propels the booster back towards the coast,
Não sei se é
taking it to
normal.
a landing in the waters of the Gulf of
Não
Mexico.
parece normal, não parece normal.
We're only using the super heavy boosters, 13 center engines from here on out. As whenever they relight, you'll be able to see that in the left bottom corner. Those are the ones that can gimbal. In other words, they move and change direction in order to change the thrust to steer the first stage back to Earth.
What? Será que é normal?
Wow, these are just incredible views coming to us.
Primeiro de lado e está a sair este fumo todo, não sei, mas pode ser.
Everything is looking good for both the first stage on the left-hand side of your screen or the super heavy booster,
não vai chegar à órbita.
as well as on the right-hand side of your screen that is Starship, or we also refer to that as the ship. Now, the boost back burn was the first of two burns required to return it to Earth. The next one will be the landing burn, where all 13 center engines will initially ignite and then transition into a 3-engine burn to help slow it down. Now, just as a reminder of the Stage 1 test objectives, we're looking for controlled ascent, which we have so far. Stage separation, which, gorgeous, we cruised right through it.
Ele está a acelerar porque está a cair.
Good news there telling us that the path that Starship is on is good. Now, Starship's second stage is still firing its engines, and as you heard, following planned flight path, the ship objectives, we're looking for hot staging, again, cruise right through that. We're looking to demonstrate controlled ascent as well as orbital insertion. Now, the bottom right-hand corner of the screen shows the ship engine graphics, so be sure to keep an eye on those.
Yep, Kate, this is just a phenomenal test so far. Super Heavy is performing beautifully today. It's on its return leg of the journey.
Acho que sim, Ki.
Ship continuing to burn its 6 engines, those larger circles, the Raptor vacuum engines, the inner circles, the Raptor sea level engines.
Vai ser recuperado o booster, mas o Starship não. Pelo que eles disseram, vai para o fundo do mar e...
Just under 30 seconds away.
Vou bater palmas a porque...
The boost back burn.
Boost back burn deve aqui, mas ele aqui não...
You can see the grid fins rotating. Those hypersonic grid fins are guiding us through the atmosphere back towards our splashdown site. Again, we're going for a splashdown, a soft splashdown. So for landing burn, we're going to expect to see the 13 center engines light, rapidly bring down the booster's velocity, and then just the 3
As duas primeiras vezes rebentaram, desta vez ainda não rebentou, e vamos tentar aterrar no mar. Ele está meio maluco, não parece normal. Já só tem 2 motores acesos. Acho que se fodeu.
And acquisition of signal. Let's see if we can get some other video of that. Now, this is a test objective today. It is still something that we're attempting to learn.
Fodeu-se, pronto, explodiu.
And to make it that far, to demonstrate the controlled re-entry up to that point is pretty darn good. Ship continuing to look nominal with its ascent burn. This burn lasting about 6 minutes total.
A chegar a uma parte importante.
And we're expecting that this burn will end just after T plus 8 minutes, about a minute from now. So far, though, I mean, congrats to the team. Making it this far is farther than we've gone on flight 2. Just wonderful views and great engine performance from the vehicles.
Agora, temos outro teste importante. Este gajo voltar a travar na atmosfera, os tiles não se foderem todos e conseguir aterrar no mar.
We demonstrated controlled entry of the booster. Just stopped a little short of the engine relay, but hey, that's something we can learn for the next one.
Yeah. Now that view that we just had moments ago was a live shot of Star Command. There you see it again. This is our mission control center at Starbase. Where vehicle operators are standing by. Now, the next milestone coming up is in less than a minute. At that point, ship will... I'm sorry, actually, it already has. There we go.
Não ligou.
As you heard there, by the call-out...
foi o engine cut-off, ok. Desativaram os motores.
Starship's 6 Raptor engines have successfully shut down. We heard a call out for insertion, which is incredible. Look at these views, Dan.
Puto, o facto de termos Starlinks graças à SpaceX, estamos a ver uma filmagem
just
sem
completely
lag
blown away
nenhum.
right now. What a day. Congratulations to the entire SpaceX team. I mean, this flight pretty much just started, but we're farther than we've ever been before. We've got a Starship not just in space, but on its coast phase into space. Just to recap where we've come, and it's only been 9.5 minutes. How has it only been 9.5 minutes? We lifted off right on time at 8:25 a.m. We didn't have to hold at our gate at all. We had 33 out of 33 Raptor engines open up and light and get us through a nominal ascent. Another successful hot stage. All 6 engines on the ship propelling us into orbit. We did see what looked like a nominal boost back burn. And then we did make it all the way to the landing burn this time. Didn't light all the engines that we expected, and we did lose the booster. We'll have to go through the data to figure out exactly what happened, obviously. So be on the lookout for information about that. But wow, a ship in space. We've got a bunch of, as we said, ambitious objectives ahead of us. Over the next couple of minutes and pretty much over the next hour, where we're going to really, we've got the ship in space. We're now going to take advantage of this and try and learn as much as possible about some of the other systems, including that first ever Raptor relight in space. So it's just going to be incredible. So
chegamos aqui, o
all
water
of that
landing
still
só
to
rebentou
come.
aqui.
The mission just started.
Isto correu bem. Estamos
What a
agora na
liftoff,
coast phase.
what a hot stage, what an amazing
Não,
sight to see
é
Starship
isso, estamos na
there
coast
in outer
phase.
space.
Desligaram os motores.
I can't believe we're seeing it in space. This
queremos
is
é ver
awesome.
isto.
Wonderful.
Now, we are going to be coasting for the next about 30 minutes or so. We'll be back around the T plus 40-minute mark. And that'll be Starship continuing to coast, hit those ambitious test objectives, and then continue on to re-entry. We're not totally sure what video that we'll get, since that normally comes to us as we overfly ground stations, and we don't have a ton of those along our trajectory. But as we have video, we'll be sure to bring that to you.
Starlink may be able to bring us additional communication paths today that will allow us to talk to Starship through re-entry with no
Eu acho que eles querem tentar aterrar na vertical no mar, só para testar
we will be live for all of today's milestones.
Porque eles já
and of
fizeram
course,
isso.
when we do have views, especially like the ones that we have now, which I just cannot get over, when we have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. But no views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes.
É cair de barriga,
and there we just heard call it that PES door is opening, so that's great.
First test.
One of our test objectives today is to open and close that PES door. That's where we will deploy Starlink satellites from in the future. So great news there that test that test objective is already underway. So come back here, stick around till T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's deorbit burn demonstration, followed by its re-entry and what is sure to be an exciting splashdown.
What the fuck? Olha aí, espetacular. Temos direito a estas merdas na net, podemos ver live streams disto a acontecer. Nós vivemos numa era espetacular, temos música de elevador. Queremos melhor que isto. Vou tentar descobrir uma espécie inteligente que faça algo pelo mundo. Um dos objetivos deste foguetão e um dos primeiros usos vai ser a NASA, que quer ir para a Lua com o seu programa que se chama Artemis. E nós queremos construir uma base lunar. Porquê que uma base lunar dá jeito? Dá-me de jeito. Porque podíamos aterrar lá foguetões e usufruir de materiais que a Lua tem, fazer lá o combustível para atestar os foguetões lá, levantar voo a partir da Lua em vez de levantar voo a partir da Terra, e outras utilidades: aprender a viver na Lua, noutro sítio, para podermos treinar para poder ir a Marte, os desafios de ter uma base.
Test checker.
Aqui mais baixo. Tem muita utilidade. Parece que é tolo e visionário. O gajo é bué para a frente. Mas ele também tem decisões às vezes um bocado estúpidas. O gajo é bué tipo, siga na vida. É bué apressado, mas isso também é bom, porque o gajo tipo, estou-me a foder se eu fodo aqui milhões e fotos aqui 30 foguetões. Eu já tenho ali 5 na garagem, siga. O gajo quer, siga. Vamos embora. Vamos testar, vamos para a frente. O gajo teve. Nós temos muita sorte em a SpaceX ter corrido bem, porque o último lançamento que era o lançamento ou corre bem ou o gajo estava na merda, o gajo já não tinha dinheiro. Ele teve de escolher entre a SpaceX e a Tesla, que ele estava mesmo aflito, dinheiro, já não havia fundos, e o gajo arriscou e escolheu os dois na mesma. E os dois correram bem, mas ele agora pronto, nunca mais volta a estar mal da vida. Porque está tudo top, está tudo a correr bem, Tesla está a correr bem, SpaceX está a correr bem, SpaceX está a fazer montes de dinheiro. Uma empresa privada de foguetões nunca existiu. Tipo, era um negócio que se calhar ninguém sabia como é que se ia fazer dinheiro. Como é que ele está a fazer dinheiro? A NASA gasta muito mais. Se tiver de fazer os próprios foguetões, gastam muito mais dinheiro, então mais vale pagar ao Elon Musk. Olha, tu mandas-nos isto ao espaço? Ok, está-se bem. O preço é este. Eles fazem dinheiro assim. Tem Starlink, que é um negócio que estão no mundo todo. Tem clientes no mundo todo. Vender internet em todo lado. Nós temos pessoal em Portugal que tem Starlink. Tu podes vender isto a empresas de aviões e de navios, cruzeiros, tens internet em todo lado, espetacular, o internet top. O gajo tem bué de empresas, olha, este cap que eu aqui tenho, Boring Company, era uma empresa que neste momento ainda não está a fazer nada, nem sei como é que está, mas o objetivo era escavar túneis para, em vez de haver trânsito na estrada, era nos túneis, que isso ainda anda, não vai ou não vai. É uma brincadeira à parte que ele ali tem. Nunca mais soube nada disso, sinceramente. Os Teslas estão lá dentro, mas não andam. Supostamente aquilo anda por eles. Acho que não são os carros que andam. São as plataformas. Não sei bem como é que isso está. Pronto. Como é que a SpaceX está a fazer mais dinheiro? Estes contratos que a NASA anda a assinar, estes testes a serem bem sucedidos, a NASA bota muito mais dinheiro em cima disto, porque eles querem acelerar este processo. Olha, a porta, eles estão a testar a porta agora. Ou não? Como é que eles estão a fazer mais dinheiro? Por todo lado. Tem os tiles, como é que é? Os telhados que carregam da Tesla, tem as baterias das casas, chama-se Solar, Tesla Solar. Tem as baterias para as casas, tem... Pronto, mas a Tesla é um bocadinho separada da SpaceX, mas mesmo assim o gajo está cheio dele. E depois as ideias que o gajo tem. O gajo é para a frente, só não avança mais porque as leis impedem e é todo um processo burocrático, mas ele quer que os carros andem sozinhos na mão das pessoas. É a empresa que tem o sistema mais perto disso. Se tu neste momento quiseres experienciar um carro a andar sozinho, a Tesla é o único que te vai dar uma experiência o mais próxima possível disso. O gajo quer pessoas que tenham Teslas. Tu vais para o trabalho com o teu Tesla e depois pensas, bom, eu só saio daqui a 8 horas, vou aqui à aplicação e vou dizer ao Tesla para ir trabalhar. E o teu carro vai sozinho fazer de Uber e tu ganhas dinheiro e eles se calhar ganham dinheiro também. Boas ideias inovadoras que não é uma questão de se isso vai acontecer, é uma questão de quando é que vai acontecer, porque as coisas vão acontecer. Agora, se demora 10 anos ou 100, pronto, não sei, mas vão. E o gajo está cheio de pressa para que essas coisas todas aconteçam. Neuralink também é uma ideia de... A cena do OpenAI, que é o ChatGPT e o DALL-E, era dele. O OpenAI foi uma cena iniciada por ele. OpenAI, inteligência artificial. Não sei se foi ele ou ele investiu. Elon Musk, fundadores. Sam, Elon Musk. O gajo está metido em tudo. A OpenAI, acho que até assessora. A OpenAI tem ChatGPT, o DALL-E, que era as imagens, DALL-E, Sora, vocês falaram do Sora, pronto, também é. Que é só a que está mais avançada em tudo. Vai, isto de DALL-E fica um bocadinho parado, acho eu. Mas foi o primeiro a existir. Coisas que estão a correr bem. Ei, estamos top. O gajo, pronto, agora é só uma questão de 2.6 milhões de pessoas a ver, Jesus. Agora é só uma questão de, pronto, é esperar que o gajo continue. O Elon Musk, eu acho que, a meu ver, é um gajo tão importante como os Albert Einsteins e essas pessoas importantes que trouxeram coisas importantíssimas para avanços humanos, de certa forma, por descobrirem fórmulas e cenas malucas que nos permitiu avançar muito como humanidade. E para mim Elon Musk está a esse nível, porque ele chegou aqui e evoluiu esta merda tipo em 3 ou 4 anos de tal maneira que nós neste preciso momento estamos a tirar proveitos disso. Nós temos Teslas por todo lado, nós temos o Starlink que podemos usá-lo em todo lado, nós temos a NASA que agora manda pessoas e tudo mais para a ISS, a Space Station, muito mais facilmente. Mandamos satélites para analisar não sei o quê, muito mais facilmente. Eu não consigo pensar em alguém mais importante. Tipo, o que é que foi importante agora nos últimos anos? Tivemos se calhar o Bill Gates, que informatizou, trouxe o Windows e que tivemos grandes avanços tecnológicos por termos toda a gente de computadores e informatizámos os sistemas todos. De resto, quem é que trouxe grande abalo para evoluções na humanidade? E ele tem muitos haters. Tipo... Opá, os objetivos dele sempre foram claros. O gajo quer ver alguém em Marte na vida dele. É o objetivo mais alto da vida dele. Tipo, ele não quer ser rico, ele não precisa de ser rico. Tipo, ele tem a vida feita, ele não precisa de nada. O objetivo de vida dele é meter alguém em Marte. Ele quer morrer já estando alguém em Marte. E todas as empresas dele, os objetivos são muito para salvar a Terra, de certa forma. ter carros elétricos, usar painéis solares nas casas e tudo muito outras coisas. Claro que lançar foguetões não há de ser bom para o ambiente, claro, mas não temos outra maneira, não dá para sair da Terra com ventoinhas. Porque chegas a um ponto que não há atmosfera, as ventoinhas não funcionam. Ventoinhas barra hélices, whatever, como queiram chamar. Provavelmente ventoinhas. Computação quântica, isso aí anda ainda muito a marinar. Supostamente vêm aí grandes avanços e tudo mais, mas isso acho que ainda está fedido. Não estamos ainda muito próximos daí de um breakthrough, mas é promissor. Neste momento, a fase que nós estamos é mais a cena da inteligência artificial, porque está um boom gigantesco disso a acontecer. Temos cada vez mais coisas de inteligência artificial, só que estamos ainda a conhecer a inteligência artificial, de certa forma, a melhorá-la e tudo mais, mas acho que o primeiro avanço que vamos ter é a inteligência artificial. E depois sim, se calhar vai ser os computadores quânticos. E a Neuralink, muito provavelmente, não é fácil a Neuralink funcionar. Tipo, tu estares a ler impulsos cerebrais e conseguir traduzir impulsos tipo, traduzir impulsos em ações, de certa forma, quase que já dá para fazer. Tipo, a pessoa pensa numa letra e já sabe qual é a letra, mas ainda estamos muito limitados. Tipo, o objetivo é, imagina, eu usar um computador e não ter um rato e um teclado, porque nós neste momento precisamos de comunicar com as máquinas e nós temos que usar interfaces físicas para dizer ao computador o que é que queremos fazer. Tipo, imagina, o objetivo final do Neuralink é nós conseguirmos ver-nos livres disto e ser instantâneo. Tipo, eu pensar, quero ir ao Chrome, quero ir ao Facebook, quero postar isto e tipo, está tudo a acontecer bem rápido. Isto estamos a ver em vários sítios, mas é na Twitter da SpaceX. Musiquinha de elevador. Um lado é bom, por outro lado o avanço tecnológico está a controlar as pessoas de uma forma muito intensiva. Tudo agora se resume um ecrã, cores e net controlados em tudo. Fazendo... A privacidade acabou. Ai, há muita coisa aqui, muito ponto aqui. O que é que eu acho em relação a isto? Realmente nós vivemos numa era também já muito agarrados a ecrãs e... Opá, já não saímos assim tanto e não sei o quê, estamos cada vez mais a viver digitalmente e as nossas experiências é um bocado a ver pixels, ecrãs e pixels e cores de pixels a mudar, ok. Mas a cena é... Somos felizes na mesma. Os sentimentos estão cá. Tipo... Não sei como é que eu tenho de explicar. Como é que é Eviction?
Pez, checkout's complete. Doors closing.
Opa, não sei, isso já é uma cena que se eu começar a falar é tipo horas e horas de conversa, tipo há pontos positivos e pontos negativos. Sousa, se eu quiser pensar num futuro muito distante, em que tivemos avanços aí tipo super avançados, quando tu vais à praia e vais sair, ou quando tu dás um beijo, o primeiro beijo a alguém, tudo o que tu sentes e aquela energia, aqueles sentimentos todos, são tudo reações elétricas no teu cérebro, de certa forma. Tu podes chegar a uma altura que tu estás ligado a uma máquina parado, a máquina está-te a controlar o cérebro e tu consegues ter uma réplica a 100% desses sentimentos simulados. Agora a cena é, estás a sentir a mesma. Eticamente, o que é que estamos a falar aqui? Tipo, foda-se, estás ligado a uma máquina, é esquisito, what the fuck, tipo, isto é vida e não sei o quê. Mas depois, de certa forma, o resultado final que tu estás a ter é 100% igual. Em termos de felicidade e tudo mais. Sei lá, tipo, é esquisito. Mas é fedido. É possível. É possível, de certa forma. É muito difícil, mas é possível. Sim, mas as drogas... Sim, por exemplo, as drogas são estimulantes de determinados sentimentos no cérebro. É tipo, tu tens zonas do cérebro em que ativam-se quando te acontece X e Y e tipo, essas experiências que tu estás a viver. As drogas são estimulantes dessas determinadas zonas do cérebro. A cena das drogas é que tu vives, estimula a certo ponto que nem é possível tu estares tão estimulado vivendo uma experiência espetacular da vida. Por isso é que as pessoas depois sentem que querem aquilo porque não conseguem experienciar de maneira nenhuma. E depois fodem-se todas. E depois ficam viciadas porque querem isso mais vezes. Vives uma sensação, não uma realidade. Mas imagina, realidade para ti é uma sensação. Porque tudo o que tu vives à tua frente é tudo uma sensação. Tudo o que tu estás a sentir na tua... Tu vais ver o pôr do sol do mar, tu estás a ver o sol, as cores laranjas. São tudo sensações que os teus olhos estão-te a dar para o teu cérebro. O vento, o cheiro, tudo, são tudo sensações que o teu cérebro está também a ter por causa do que estás a viver. Tu conseguires simular a 100% tudo igual, é igual. E isto eu estou a imaginar, pronto, avanços bué para a frente, mas supostamente é possível. Nunca vamos experienciar isso nós, mas é possível. Até mas quando é que o gajo vai? Olha, para mim, os primeiros avanços que nós vamos ter vai ser agora com a inteligência artificial. Curas para doenças e tudo mais vai ser muito mais fácil porque a inteligência artificial vai aprender os vírus e essas coisas tudo sozinho e tudo mais. Acho que isso vai haver avanços muito mais rápidos nessa área. Inteligência artificial vai ser útil também para os carros que andam sozinhos e tudo mais. Vai ser útil, por exemplo, fábricas. As fábricas com os robôs. As fábricas hoje em dia, tipo, a construir carros, têm os braços elétricos que pegam nas portas e encaixam naquele determinado sítio e fazem aquelas coisas todas. Isso é tudo programado de certa forma à mão, toda aquela variável de tipo, vais até aqui, encaixas aqui. Outra coisa que vai ser possível, a meu ver, vai ser a inteligência artificial, de certa forma, também poder fazer um bocadinho dessas coisas por aprendizagem, em que hoje em dia, se a porta vem um bocadinho torta e aquilo não está a encaixar bem porque foi programado daquela maneira, mas aquilo não está bem encaixado, o computador por si vai dar alt e para, e depois a fábrica para o computador não vai decidir por ele próprio, tipo, aprender o que é que, porquê, tipo, vou dar eu o ajuste e eu resolvo. E eu acho que a inteligência artificial também vai trazer, de certa forma, mais avanços para as coisas se desenrascarem sozinhas, vá, de certa forma, em vez de ser preciso o técnico humano ter de programar tudo à unha e ter de lá estar quando há um mini problema e tudo mais. Ah, sim, pessoas, isso é verdade. O teu corpo vai estar todo fodido. Podes estar a viver as sensações todas reais, mas tu se ficares ligado a uma máquina e tudo mais. Mas agora imagina, pessoas, ok? Esta é boa. Vives a vida, começas a ficar velho, o teu corpo já não é o mesmo e tu queres experienciar coisas. Por que não? Ou pessoas que já estão incapazes ou não conseguem andar, ou pessoas que ficaram cegas e tudo mais, poderem voltar a ver, tipo, não é a realidade, mas é uma simulação. Podem viver? Podem viver? É uma vida simulada, mas estão a sentir a felicidade. Teres uma vida que não é a tua, apaixonar-te no meio digital, tipo uma simulação e tudo mais, tu sentires 100% dos sentimentos, era top para essas pessoas e tudo mais. Isto, pronto, tem coisas boas e tem coisas más. Mas isso já é tipo super para a frente, tipo, estamos muito longe disso. Acho que primeiramente essas coisas do Neuralink e tudo mais, o objetivo vai ser eu pegar no telemóvel, olhar para o telemóvel e estar a abrir as apps e a responder as mensagens e a meter like no que eu quero sem tocar no telemóvel. Tipo, e agora quer tirar uma foto. O que nós andamos a tentar fazer de ok Google, take a selfie, ok Google, get me home e tudo mais, de tentar não tocar no telemóvel e pedir e termos de falar, mas em vez de termos de falar, estou no carro, preciso de GPS para ir para casa, olho para o telemóvel e o GPS abre e direções para casa. Tipo, o objetivo é um bocadinho chegarmos a esse ponto primeiro. E tem mudado muito rápido, mas mesmo assim é fedido. Metaverse é tipo uma merda da Wish. Metaverse é um bocado rasco. Até o... como é que se chamava aquele jogo dos bonecos em VR? VR Chat. Até esse VR Chat estava de certa forma melhor em termos de interação. VR Chat. Mas agora a Apple ter entrado com os óculos VR, vai haver muito mais avanços em óculos, em apps e experiências de realidade aumentada. Mas aquilo é um beta, de certa forma, aqueles óculos. Foi bom a Apple ter sentido, porque a Apple é grande e quando eles fazem bem e o sistema deles está muito bom. Tipo, tu olhas para onde queres clicar, clicas com o dedo, tipo, o sistema está bué bem feito. Mas de certa forma aquilo é um teste ainda inicial. É muito caro.
And we just came out of a coast phase and we're treated to a number of HD views thanks to Starlink. Including the PES door open close test. So that was one of our test objectives today that we met. So that's awesome.
Dos problemas dos óculos, os óculos são bem pesados. Temos que conseguir ter óculos muito mais leves e que não sejam tipo uma pessoa a andar na rua toda com a cara tapada. Tipo, era fixe ter realidade aumentada nos óculos normais. Era brutal. E é fixe, pessoas, não é todos os dias que eu também posso ter uma conversa tipo, sobre estes assuntos com o pessoal, não é fácil. De certa forma, é fixe poder desabafar um bocadinho sobre estas cenas.
Sea level engines, and then we've commanded a number of demonstrations, including the Starlink satellite deploy demo. So
mas já, tipo, realidade aumentada é uma cena muito útil, era muito top. Imagina tu estares a trabalhar no mecânico, tu és um mecânico e tu precisas de ajuda de outro mecânico e eu tenho realidade aumentada e o outro mecânico também e ele está a ver o carro à tua frente e tu vês a mão dele à tua frente, tipo a dizer-te, a agarrar na peça e a dizer-te é esta a peça e tu estás a repetir o que o gajo está a fazer remotamente. E tipo, tu se calhar nem és mecânico, nem és nada, e estás a fazer um trabalho altamente especializado remotamente. Com ajuda.
Do want to stress this is not a deorbit burn. In fact, it's actually going to function a little bit opposite of a deorbit burn. We're going to be raising our perigee with this burn, or the lowest point of our orbit. This is just to demonstrate that we can relight a Raptor engine on ship while it's gone through a coast, while it's in outer space, while it's in microgravity, all of the different complexities that come with lighting this engine again after it's already done an ascent burn.
Pronto, Marcos, tinhas que vir. O Marcos chega aqui na live, abre a porta, então e pornografia e a realidade aumentada. Tipo, estávamos aqui, conversa. Muito top. Obrigado, Sousa. Obrigado pelo sub.
PC players are that good. Oh my goodness.
Sousa 2906 renovou a subscrição.
Obrigado, Sousa.
If it doesn't, as we said in the beginning, we're on a pretty steep trajectory that we are coming home no matter what, regardless of doing a burn. This was done.
Puta, é muito bom a Apple. Porque quando a Apple inova, os outros copiam. E quando a Apple inova, os gajos fazem muito bem. Eu não sou gajo de iPhone, não gosto de iPhones, sempre fui de Android e tudo mais. Não sou de Mac, sou de Windows, mas dou devido valor à Apple. A Apple, quando faz bem. A Apple é perfeccionista nas coisas. Não sai muito daquela caixinha, mas dentro daquela caixinha está tudo muito bem feito. Bué bem feito, bué otimizado, bué rápido,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Perfeito.
So coming up next around T plus 49 minutes is Starship re-entry. Now, this is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with spacecraft because they're re-entering the Earth's atmosphere at or around orbital velocity, about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second. Super fast. Now, at those speeds, the spacecraft's interaction with the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so all we're left were.
O gajo está a 8 km por segundo e vai entrar na atmosfera. Imagina a potência do vento da atmosfera. Pega fogo aquela merda, tipo, por isso é que os e-tails têm que proteger aquilo. Agora é isso que nós vamos ver.
But that's why Starship and Starlink are a great partnership. Starship is so big that it will leave a wake or a hole in the plasma field as it flies through an atmosphere. You can think of a wake kind of like when you see a boat going through the ocean, it sort of leaves a trail behind it.
Já estamos a ver.
From Starlink, giving us views
Ela
of Starship's onboard videos. And so we're hoping that the Starlink on board will let us, just like we're seeing these videos now, see through that plasma field by maintaining a continuous communication lock with the satellites on orbit through the wake that Starship leaves behind. Now, this is only the second time that we're testing Starlink during re-entry.
São 3.4 milhões
that we
de
do
pessoas a
have
ver.
these great visuals now. Don't be surprised if we manage to get some signal hiccups through. We're still learning about what that wake will actually look like in practice and whether we're able to get that live continuous high-speed data during re-entry.
Agora a vossa questão é, e se esta merda vai para um sítio descontrolado contra pessoas? Se isto começa a ir numa órbita que não é normal, os gajos têm o botão de explodir, isto desfaz-se em mil bocadinhos e esses mil bocadinhos desintegram-se aqui na atmosfera.
As we're going through the hypersonic re-entry. So if something were to go wrong during this re-entry, we want as many paths as possible to collect that information, that data, just to, again, just continually...
Olha Portugal! Olha Portugal, malta! Olha aqui em Lisboa, aqui o Algarve. Não? Ou eu estou maluco? Aquilo era Portugal.
Now, if Starship manages to make it all the way through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on Starship flying through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, meaning at this point will be more than 5 times the speed of sound. Now we're watching these live views, HD views by the looks of it, thanks to Starlink. You can see that the flaps there on the ship might be actuating. Certainly some incredible visions of planet Earth behind Starship. Now, we've already validated Starship's ability to fly and land at subsonic speeds.
Que supostamente não ia passar por cima de nós.
And we can see those flaps there. So getting data on aspects like heating and control while traveling way faster than we did before is going to be critical to eventually bringing starships back from space for rapid reuse. So I mentioned those flaps. That's one of the things that enables Starship to help control itself and survive the heat of re-entry, which, like we said before, we're expecting that re-entry to occur around T+49 minutes. So we're getting pretty close here.
And what you're seeing here, it looks like the vehicle is sort of moving back and forth. Part of what you're also seeing is one of the cameras, this onboard view that we have, is on the end of a flap. Starship has front flaps and rear flaps in the vehicle. So we've got 4 of those. And oh man, we can see the heating on those flaps as we're starting to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. This is where the Earth's atmosphere is doing the work to slow us down.
Dá para ver.
Now, like we said, this plasma field is, wow, what a view.
Brutal.
To maintain these views throughout, Starship is so big that we're hoping that the plasma field doesn't entirely blanket the entire vehicle. Right now, it is not. The Starlinks...
Bro, isto é uma cena nunca antes vista. Nunca viram isto.
And still capturing the data and the video that we see here. I mean, Shiva, this is
Ele está meio de lado, digo eu.
We've never seen anything like this before. This is the biggest flying object ever in space.
Absolutely, Kate.
E temos uma câmera a ver esta merda a entrar e a arder, puto. E o feed está perfeito. A câmera não vai com o caralho.
If it were recovering from an orbital mission, and just the fact that we have views through entry, this is incredible.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Again, this is the furthest and fastest that Starship has ever.
A câmera vai com o caralho.
And you can definitely tell by the crowd here in Hawthorne.
The heat shield tiles doing their work. We talked about it earlier.
What the fuck?
Up to 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. That those heat shield tiles are dissipating as we are re-entering.
Está a reentrar. O objetivo é aterrar no meio do mar e o objetivo é testar estes heat tiles. Nós estamos neste momento a testar. Se isto corre bem, nunca foi feito isto.
So this is the first time that we're getting to collect this re-entry data and understand how these 18,000 hexagonal heat shield tiles are working together.
É para aterrar entre aspas, é para aterrar no meio do mar. Mas o objetivo já não é aterrar, o objetivo é ver se isto não arde. Agora é entrar. Mas sim, no fim o objetivo é aterrar. Se isto tudo correr bem, eu não estou à espera de chegar a essa parte, mas se chegar é porque isto foi tudo perfeito.
And that's part of the reason
Câmara
why the
foda-se.
flaps
Não,
are
é
so
só a net.
important. We're using the body
A
of
câmara
Starship
foi-se?
and the
Não.
drag from the atmosphere to slow us down from orbital speed, but you want the vehicle to remain stable. You want those heat shield tiles pointed down. So they can absorb the heat of the Earth's atmosphere.
Mas ainda estamos a receber sinal
so that's the purpose that they are serving during the hypersonic phase and then again during the subsonic phase.
So like we said, these views are being provided by a couple Starlink terminals that are positioned on Starship itself. As that plasma builds, we're hoping that we can bring these views back to you, but you can see the telemetry there on the right-hand side of your screen. If you watch closely, you can see the speed
Enquanto recebemos
decelerating. Again,
isto,
that's the friction
é porque
of
está
the atmosphere
conectado.
resulting in this plasma field, or excuse me,
Se
the
isto
blanket,
para, às vezes dá
that
hiccups,
is,
para é porque a net também
potentially
está a
blocking
bloquear
the
para mandar
Starlink
os
terminals
dados.
right now. So we'll bring those views back to you if we get them. But right now, for those
Mas
of you
enquanto
that
isto
have
mexe é porque
recently
estamos
joined,
vivos.
Starship is currently re-entering Earth's atmosphere.
Parece a
Super
NASA,
exciting
isto é
because
melhor
it's
que a
the
NASA.
furthest
Os
and
gajos estão muito melhores
fastest
que a
that
NASA.
Starship has ever flown.
A NASA,
It's just absolutely
coitadinhos.
incredible. Major test milestone, something
A
we
NASA
wanted to
agora
accomplish
paga
in Flight
eles
2,
para
getting to
mandar
it today,
material.
so just
E pessoas,
awesome.
já mandamos pessoas.
Now, we actually have some heat shields here. So these are what's doing all the work on Starship right now. There are 18,000 hexagonal heat shields like these. So this one that I have is flat, like this is what would be positioned on the flaps of Starship, whereas Shiva has something a little different.
Yeah, the one I have would be on the curved surfaces of Starship. I'll just put it in frame here. So we've got
Esta
these
merda
attached
aguenta
at various
com
points around the
milhares
vehicle, like you
de
said,
graus de
Kate,
temperatura.
18,000
E
of
isto é
these
preto
tiles
porque,
around, and they're
porque o
doing their
preto
work
dissipa
to
o
make sure
calor
that
mais
the
rápido.
structure of the vehicle doesn't carry all that thermal load,
Para
so we can recover the vehicles
para
eventually and get to
sair
rapid
daqui.
reuse on
Yeah.
them.
They're really lightweight. They
Provavelmente,
sound,
se calhar,
a little different than I
GoPros e
would have
coisas de
expected them
género,
to, but they
Diogo.
are ceramic. And these are what's helping Starship survive through this period of entry.
Câmaras tipo
We're not
GoPros
sure
agora,
how
não
far we're
sei
going
se
to
é
make
mesmo
it. Again, this
GoPros.
is the furthest that we've gotten
Muitos usam
in our
GoPros.
test flight, but the further we fly, the more data that we can get, and that's
Parte mais
ultimately
importante.
the measure of success here, which
De certa forma, a parte
been a huge
crucial
success
era a
given
parte da
where
separação
where we've
não
gone
ter
and how much
explodido,
further
porque
we've gotten
assim
with both the booster
já
and
passámos
Starship
essa
itself.
fase, que
And
foi
one of the
o
beautiful
nosso,
things about Starlink on
nossa
board the vehicle,
dificuldade
we were
na
getting that
última.
high-speed video. High-speed video is a
Parou?
very high data rate, and usually
Fudeu-se, se
video
calhar.
comes after you get your telemetry. So hopefully we were able to get some wonderful data throughout the entry
fudeu-se.
period, which is normally something we have to wait for until after splashdown when we get that data off the data recorders.
Yeah.
Nós estamos a testar coisas que nunca foram feitas, então nós não sabemos como é que as coisas correm. A última vez, a separação das duas partes, quando o outro virou ao contrário, o combustível lá dentro andou aos saltos e os motores não tiveram combustível e aquilo fodeu-se, pronto, e depois explodiram aquilo. E desta vez correu bem. E conseguimos quase aterrar na água, o que foi bom. Ou seja, a partir daí já é tudo bom, porque já estamos a descobrir a próxima parte e onde é que vai dar erro e o que é que fodeu-se assim. Tipo, e como é que vamos resolver esta parte assim? É tudo sempre a melhorar. Vamos ter mais um teste porque, pronto, é sempre testes a seguir a testes e os próximos testes já vamos conseguir ainda mais à frente. Esta parte das e-tiles, quanto mais à frente chegar, melhor é, porque assim, no próximo teste, vamos conseguir, se calhar, o objetivo ser aterrar mesmo ou outra coisa melhor. Porque se ele rebentou agora muito cedo, a próxima vez o nosso teste vai chegar, se calhar, um bocadinho mais tarde, mas se calhar pode rebentar a descer.
That entry subsonic period to occur around T+1 hour and 3.5 minutes. So we're not there yet. We're about 10 minutes away from that point. So again, that is when Starship would be traveling slower than the speed of sound, thanks to the atmospheric braking system.
And so right now we're still waiting to see if we're going to get data back from this ship. We might be in a bit of a blackout period right now. So still waiting to hear the status on it. But yeah, it was we got to the actual entry portion of today. We started into peak heating, which was just a really big milestone. Starship is pretty unique in the way that it re-enters, especially for something reusable. The closest parallel has been the space shuttle. When we're comparing Starship to like when we bring a Falcon 9 booster back, we're talking about 20 times the energy given the velocity that we're moving at, and all of that energy just gets converted into heat, and then we need to use those tiles to just help dissipate that heat. They're not ablative like you would see on something like Dragon, which uses an ablative in the capsule shape. So they are these tiles that are
A
made
cena
to
é
be
que temos
reusable.
duas
So any
peças
data we're getting on the
separadas a
actual
fazer a
temperatures
sua
that we
própria
see
coisa.
during heating,
Mas
all of
imagina,
that is
se
just
queremos falar
really
o que é mais
hugely valuable.
importante,
Where
imagina,
Starship
se o
is really
booster
unique
corre
is,
mal,
and Kate and Shiv
mas
have talked about it a
esta
couple of
parte
times,
corre
is
melhor,
once we're
esta é a
through
parte mais
this
importante
kind of
porque é a parte que
hypersonic
leva as
section and we
pessoas
get down to
e a
the
cargo,
subsonic.
porque
That's
em
where we
qualquer
really
missão,
learned a
se
lot
nós
and
nunca
proved that
conseguirmos
Starship
meter o booster a
really just its
100%, mas
basic
conseguimos que
shape
isto corra
could
sempre
work,
bem,
and we did that during the suborbital campaign.
podemos
Again, if you compare it to the
lançar para
shuttle, which
missões
entered, it had the wings, it
que
had
se
a
foda ao
similar heat
booster,
shield
olha,
system,
fodeu-se
but
o
it had
booster outra
wings,
vez, mas sabemos
and
que
then
esta
was
parte do lado
almost
direito,
flown
que
like
é
a
a parte
glider once it
que
re-entered
tem
and was
o
down to
material,
those
ou
subsonic
as
speeds.
pessoas, ou
With Starship, we're not doing that. We're
queremos
just
que
coming
essa parte
straight
corra
down.
bem.
We'll hit
Mais
terminal
vale esta
velocity,
parte
which with
avançar
Starship
melhor
is
do
around
que a
200 miles an hour, and then we use a
Mas é
flip
importante que o
maneuver
booster corra
to
bem,
ignite
porque
those engines, do a landing burn,
reutilizar
and then
é
touch
o
down on the
objetivo número
ground. So you don't need
E
a
se
runway.
nós
We're doing that
conseguirmos
again
reutilizar
designed
isto,
because when we go to the moon, when
conseguimos
we
ter
go to Mars,
lançamento hoje
there's
e
not going to
daqui a
be a runway
mês
there for us,
reutilizamos o
and so
mesmo
that
para aterrar,
propulsive landing
para lançar
is
outra
going to
vez.
be really important. This is an
E fica
animation of
barato,
pretty much what we were just watching on actual Starship video, which is pretty
etc,
incredible.
etc.
But we go through peak heating.
O
One
gajo
of the
tem
benefits
4
of today's
protótipos
trajectory,
deste na
actually,
garagem à
we
espera.
got closer to what the heating profile will be on just a normal mission when you compare it to our previous flights, which were headed out to Hawaii. So we go through peak heating, and then we hit subsonic, and then Starship splashes down in the ocean. Again, we're not
Eu
doing a
lá não
landing
ia dar
burn
cast
on
nenhum,
this
é que
flight,
é
and we're
não
not
ia dar cast
expecting
nenhum,
Starship
foda-se, eu
to
ia estar
survive
lá a
the
ver o
impact. We're not going
lançamento,
to be
a
recovering
ouvir
any of the
aquele
hardware.
barulho todo e
For
caralho.
now, though, we are just still waiting to see if we're going to get some signal back. We're currently at a loss of signal with Starship. Don't know for sure what its status is, and so we're just continuing to listen in. But it was pretty incredible seeing the flaps really do their thing to maneuver the vehicle as it's moving through hypersonic. One of the big trade-offs between something like Shuttle and Starship is wings can be pretty heavy. And so if we can really demonstrate that Starship's controllable through that hypersonic regime when you're coming through the atmosphere, 25 times the speed of sound, you can save a whole lot of weight by not having really big wings. So super valuable to get this data, super valuable to then figure out what we're going to do on our next test flights.
Yeah, and you'd brought up a really interesting point too, that for on Shuttle, you are gliding in, going back to a runway. On Starship, because we're landing vertically, we are basically coming down, and then we've seen this during the suborbital campaign. We're not going to see it today, but during the suborbital campaign, we did the flip maneuver and then light our engines for a landing burn. And that's also really important for some of our other terrestrial destinations, that we don't have as much of an atmosphere on Mars. There is pretty much no atmosphere. There's some great views from our previous test campaigns of a landing burn and upright landing. But on the moon, there is no atmosphere. On Mars, the atmosphere is extremely thin, so you actually need some other sophisticated techniques that other landers have used to land there. And so this vertical landing technique
serve para
is
muita
really
coisa,
important to
Steven.
landing on destinations like those, which is ultimately where we're trying to go.
Serve para ir à Lua com pessoas, montar uma base, dá para também fazer. O objetivo dele também é usar para viajar aqui na Terra. Imagina ires Portugal até a América em 20 minutos, aterrar na Lua, enviar Starlinks.
overall,
ir a Marte
it's been pretty great, and it's great to see how those initial tests
viajar na
that we
Terra
performed
e tudo muito
a couple
mais.
years ago
Basicamente
for
é um
those
foguetão
high
que
altitude
consegue ter
tests allow us to
muita,
see
muita
what
carga.
those will look like in the future, but this piece that we're doing today of, okay, if we are coming back from orbital velocity and we're going through that entry period, that is the missing piece, right? We already figured out how to land once the ship gets to a certain velocity or altitude, and it's really this piece that we were trying to figure out today. How do we get Starship to survive orbital velocity atmospheric entry? And we hope to find out soon.
Não, o objetivo não é viagens turísticas. O objetivo principal é ajudar a NASA na missão deles, que chama-se Artemis, a ir à Lua, construir uma base na Lua. Base na Lua que é para quê? Para poder minar materiais lá, ter uma base para abastecer foguetões lá, para levantar voo a partir de lá, para aprender como é que se vive na Lua. Tudo. A partir daí estamos a descobrir como é que se... para treinar como é que se vive num sítio que não há atmosfera, para depois treinar para ir para Marte.
Generating because of friction as the belly of Starship was, making contact with
Blue
the
Origin
atmosphere, and that resulted in some
traz assim
plasma.
muito
So
hype.
as Dan said before, we
Nem
believe that
tenho
we're in a
seguido
bit of a
nada,
blackout
porque para mim é estar a ver
period.
gajo que está
We are expecting the vehicle
10 passos
atrás. Speeds in 3 minutes, 3.5
Oh
minutes
my
from now.
goodness.
So,
E Make_PT renovou a subscrição, loucura.
we're not there just yet. But we saw that plasma field building up around the exterior, which can blanket the entire vehicle as it does with all of our Dragon missions, and we're at a loss for telemetry at that point in time. So
Dan's seen a lot of those with Dragon missions that he's supported.
Yeah, absolutely.
Acho que isto fodeu-se mesmo.
And we are hearing through some of the telemetry that we did. It did look like we lost Starlink and our TDRS data flow at the exact same time. Now, if both of those signals are cutting out at the exact same time, that could mean we lost the ship. It has been several minutes since we've gotten any data from Starship. We are waiting just a couple more minutes just to see if we can get any additional confirmation, but that is one data point that we're tracking, and that could indicate that we had a loss or a breakup of the ship during that re-entry. So might not make it all the way to splashdown today, but we were able to get through the early phases of re-entry, hit some of that peak heating, which was just really incredible to see a Starship coming back from space after getting all those views from space for the very first time. So we'll just keep on listening in on the loops here, see if we hear anything over the next couple of minutes. And that might bring a close to a pretty successful day so far. So again, we did lose the TDRS. That's the tracking and data relay satellite. That's the satellite system that pretty much every spacecraft operating in orbit right now will use to get data. We were able to get some signal through that.
Agora cá em baixo, para já está no meio
we
do
were also
oceano.
getting
Não tens
data back
câmaras.
through Starlink.
Como é que tu tens câmaras a olhar para ele? Ainda por cima
Live
ele
view
atravessa
here
tipo
of
metade da Terra.
mission control
Nem
down
sei
at
se dá uma
Starbase.
volta à
So
Terra.
these are all the folks who are experts
como
on
é
the
que tu
various different
acompanhas
systems, taking a look at the live data that we did have.
tão alto, tão rápido,
Probably in
e como é que tu
mission
sabes
mode
onde é que ele ia
still,
cair?
it would be so tough to
Falhei.
focus.
Monty Python. I'm not dead yet. We don't know, as Dan said. We did lose connection with TDRS, which is the tracking data relay satellite system, and Starlink at the same time. So it is a realistic possibility that we lost Starship, which
se tudo corresse bem, tu se calhar sabias onde é que a nave ia aterrar e até tinhas lá um barco minimamente perto. como não está a correr bem, tu nem sabes bem, sabes que vai aterrar por ali, tipo naquela zona. Isto, se a aeronave tem um sistema de autodestruição em que se ele começa a ver que não está a ter controle ou não está a correr como deve, aquilo explode para se desfazerem milhares de pecados, para se desfazer, desintegrar quase totalmente as peças todas na atmosfera, para não cair em cima de ninguém e tudo mais. Mas também não vai cair em cima de ninguém, porque eu não sei onde é que está o mapa, mas era tipo um desenho aqui no mar, tipo mega.
But it's worth mentioning, this is the first time that we have come back at these speeds in any of the test flights that we've done so far with Starship. So we are trying to prove out that the heat shield works as intended, that the controllability at those hypersonic speeds works as intended. So if we were able to get back any data on that, that means the next version, what happens on flight 4, 5, 6, is going to be better.
We must be able to get some because we saw incredibly gorgeous high definition views of that entry period whenever it was initially starting. So we must have gotten some data
today
there.
Has been otherwise a phenomenal day.
Incredible.
Liftoff on time, full ignition of all of the boosters, engines, successful hot staging, and then ship took it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to see the ship actually make it further as well as the booster. We were hoping that the booster would perform a soft water landing, but we lost it during just before it was able to ignite the landing burn. But the ship continued on. We saw all six Raptor engines on the ship ignite and then shut down for second engine cutoff. And we saw some amazing views as well, and it's just been certainly a day that I will be taking many screenshots and using them as my computer desktop background for, well, until the next Starship launch.
When we get even better views, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And we also hit a number of our other ambitious test objectives. We had a chance to at least initiate the commands for a propellant transfer demo within the vehicle. This is something that Starship's going to have to do in the future, and these sort of transfers haven't been done at this scale before, so that's a first as well. We also were able to demonstrate that the payload door functions.
And we got to see that,
Yeah, and so those commands were sent. Again, data review to come and make sure that everything performed as expected, but that's going to be critical to deploying payloads in the future once Starship becomes operational.
Of course.
So a number of test objectives hit, much more accomplished than Flight 2, and making steady progress towards a fully, rapidly reusable, reliable Starship.
Absolutely.
Eles chamam bem nomes
And hey, Kate and hey, Shiva, we were just hearing on the loops, we are making the call now that we have lost Ship 28. So as we were possibly expecting, we lost the data a couple of minutes ago. We haven't heard from the ship up until this point, and so the team has made the call that ship has been lost. So no splashdown today, but again, just it's incredible to see how much further we got this time around. We had a couple of those ambitious objectives that you guys were just walking through that we're able to take advantage of while Starship was in outer space flying over our planet for the very first time. So that was just really incredible. Obviously, there's a lot to go through. Everyone always wants to know right off the bat what happened.
E just read the instructions,
but
lê as
as
instruções.
soon as we start finding things out, we're going to let everybody know. And I know everybody's going to be excited for the next one. I mean, as I pointed out at the beginning, there's 4 super heavy boosters either fully stacked or getting stacked right behind me. We've got other ships ready to go as well. So it's going to be a really busy time down here at Starbase as we look to really fly Starship as much as possible, get this vehicle ready to go for all the important things it's got to go do.
And with that, we got to say a huge congratulations to our teammates and everyone who's supported the Starship program. There's been flames and reds along the way, but third time's the charm, and we made it to space. We also a big thanks to all of our future customers for your support. And we want to give a big thanks to the people of Cameron County, Texas, for their support, as well as the Coast Guard and the Federal Aviation Administration.
Be sure to follow the SpaceX account on X for more updates from today's test flight and future Starship tests. But before we go, we want to wish SpaceX a very happy birthday. The company was founded on this day in 2002 when it basically consisted of this small team, a carpet and a mariachi band. I don't know about you, but we're feeling 22. Also, it's Pi Day.
Yeah, but I mean, Pi Day is constant and never ending, so shouldn't every day be Pi Day from now on?
I mean, that's a really good point, and I think after a test like today's, we all deserve some pie.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
São bem engraçados. Estavam a dizer que é Pi Day hoje. Porquê? Porque o mês é 3 e o dia é 14. 3.14 é Pi. E Pi é Pai, em inglês é bolo. Pronto. Pronto. Foi isto.
We all deserve some pie.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Amazing. 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 Oh, rest in pieces. Booster 10, Ship 28, valiant effort, progress.
Deixa eu ver a reação aqui deste gajo. Ele tinha outra câmera. Minuto. Não podia estar a ver as versões todas. Vou jogar Malice. Competições europeias cheiram, não é? Hã? Isso é o quê? Estão a falar da bola?
Sound, getting those onboard views from the ship cameras. Now the next major milestone is going to be a hot staging maneuver. Again, we're going to be doing that center Raptor engines can stay up the sea ship off of the booster.
O time é este gajo.
All right, maneuver all on ship. Push 3 lights, go out in the middle. And then we'll see the ship. Hot staging means 6 Starship.
Intelligence from here on out, as whenever they relight.
That
is going to be critical.
The one I have that can
through. So we go
through no use on.
Yeah. Air vehicle. Right now, it is not. The Starlinks
views
are
brought
still
to you by Starlink. Has front flaps and rear flaps in the vehicle. So we've got 4 of those. And oh man, we can see the heating on those flaps as we're starting to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. This is where the Earth's atmosphere is doing the work to slow us down.
Now, like we said, this plasma field
Brutal isto.
Wow, what a view. We hope to maintain these views.
Oh my God.
Starship is entire vehicle. Right now, it is not. The Starlinks
Views brought to you by Starlink.
Starlinks are still communicating and still capturing the data and the video that we see here. I mean,
their work. We talked about it earlier. Up to 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit that those heat shield tiles are dissipating as we are re-entering.
Yeah, now this was one of the critical, or rather the key mission objectives that we were hoping to hit today. We have never, like I said before, this is the fastest and furthest that Starship has ever flown. So this is the first time that we're getting to collect this re-entry data and understand how these 18,000 hexagonal heat shield tiles are working together to protect the belly of Starship as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
This footage is...
Once again, the atmosphere is doing us a big favor here by... The atmosphere is actually doing us a huge favor here by acting as a braking system for Starship as it re-enters the atmosphere.
And that's part of the reason why the flaps are so important. We're using the body of Starship and the drag from the atmosphere to slow us down from orbital speed, but you want the vehicle to remain stable. You want those heat shield tiles pointed down so they can absorb the heat of the Earth's atmosphere. And so that's the purpose that they...
Absolutely. Tunnels that are...
Still have data.
We can break the screen. Get that...
Stone.
Doing all the work on Starship right and form
is going to use those tiles.
The
flat, like this is what would be positioned on the flaps of Starship, whereas Shiva has something a little different.
Yeah, the one I have would be on the curved surfaces of Starship. I'll just put it in frame here. And of these tiles are thermal load. So
they and of in our the measure of we.
And one of the beautiful things about very high data and wonderful until after splashdown.
The flaps are positioned on start or aft end or location. So it is
we've had some tests at sub-sonic speeds first. So that control phase where we're going from.
Queria ver se ele comentava tipo a cena estar parada.
If we're going to get data here the status today, this
Não disse
start
nada,
20
não. Ok,
times
pronto.
the energy given the
Foi
velocity
isto.
that we're...
Foi isto, olha. Tá bom. Ah, era Madagascar. Ambida. Deixa-me lá ver onde é que é isso. Pois é que não ia passar por cima de nós. Não fazia sentido. Pois era tipo uma cena assim. Pois era isto assim. Estava um gajo a ver isto. Era esta cena aqui. Estava a ver isto. Bem visto. Como é que tu descobriste isso? Era isto. Um gajo pensava que isto era o Algarve e estava a dizer que aqui era Lisboa. Como é que tu chegaste a isso? Foda-se, que grande loucura. Bom. Vou dar aqui a rede. Queimou-se, tipo, sei lá, agora eu vou vendo no YouTube. Eles hão de informar o que é que aconteceu. Imagina, pode ter um tile daqueles ter saído numa zona central e basta sair começa a derreter por ali por dentro. E derreteu aquilo tudo e fodeu. Tipo, o metal... alumínio ou o caralho, o que é que seja aquela merda, vai tudo pelo caralho. Derrete àquelas temperaturas. Vira líquido. Arde mesmo. Bom, olha. Disse que ia jogar com o Fox.
Já não é a primeira vez, agora levou para um...
Disse que queria jogar com o Fox. Sei. Como é que tu viste a trajetória? Tentei encontrar para saber melhor.
45. Vou bazar, vou para o próximo.
Siga.
Acho que eles tinham mostrado na imagem, não sei onde é que isso está.
Morreu, acho eu? Não, não.
A 0. Olha, caguei.
Está bem.
Está fixe. Foi interessante. Vemo-nos daqui se calhar 2 meses. Ias meter o link normal que aqui dá.
Isto é bazar.
Eu aqui permito tudo.
Estou a ir para o próximo. Vou precisar de ammo.
Podes mandar aí para a tua frente, eu também vou para ele.
Morri para o Todd.
Vou-te mandar reforço para o próximo.
Ok. Estava aqui a previsão onde é que caía.
Eu trouxe uma cena para acelerar os reforços.
Muito longe de câmaras filmarem, esquece isso.
Como é que faltam 3 sites?
Previsão ótima e previsões de tipo deu merda e destroços. Onde é que poderia apanhar?
What? Yeah.
Mas olha que se calhar ser Madagascar, não sei, depende da altura.
Oh não.
Deixa-me ver aqui. Mas já se calhar era. Parecia bué. É porque é amarelado, areia. E aqui também não me parece.
Tem que dar reset nisto. Isto está uma merda.
Ok, ok, está bem. Muito bem. Boa análise, bem jogado. Eles tinham aqui pontos de previsão de deu merda. Ou do booster, que nem sei onde é que o booster aterrou. Se é aqui, ele voltou para trás. Já. Está aqui descrito o que é as cores.
Está no charger agora.
Tá bem, olha, muito top. Muito bem visto, bem jogado. Vou dar raid. Portem-se bem e olha, obrigado pela companhia. Espero que tenham aprendido alguma coisa e que tenham tido algum interesse extra sobre este tipo de coisas. O meu objetivo, de certa forma, com estas lives é conseguir que mais pessoas se interessem por isto e que pronto, há coisas interessantes a acontecer, que se mantenham informados, e acho que espaço e estas inovações são boas. Acho mais interessante do que ver futebol, de certa forma, porque isto correr bem, amanhã significa que temos uns avanços tops que nós podemos usufruir. Inovações e coisas, avanços, tudo mais. E o futebol não vai trazer nenhuma coisa boa para amanhã nós podermos usufruir. Por isso, acho que era bom interessar. Tentar meter a malta a interessar-se um bocadinho mais também sobre estas coisas. Informar. Bom, e salta. Não se estraguem. O impacto.
Não temos soluções necessárias para isto. É complicado. É que só os biles só é que estou a conseguir matar. É que aquela bomba de 300 enganei-me por 110.